Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Obscure Arc. Today is going to be an interesting episode. I'm Emre,
I'm
and
Jared.
then, this is my co-host, Jared. So, how do you want to kick this off, Jared?
It's been a busy month of anime and other life things. I will say, if for some reason you are one of the maybe non-existent people following along, and we did in episode 3 say we're going to watch Girls Last Tour. Spoiler: we did not watch Girls Last Tour. We've soon realized that watching over 50 episodes of anime a month is way too many. So we're
Tad
going
bit,
to
if
we're,
you
we're
will.
gonna we're gonna figure something out. We're gonna probably do something different. We'll get to the shared watch when we get to it. If you watched episode 3, you'll know what it is. But yeah, I mean this month's anime has been. I've had a lot more mixed feelings, not in a negative way. Like usually when people hear mixed feelings, they think solely like negative of like they expect solely positive. But there's a lot packed into the settings of all of these anime that it makes you have to talk about it a lot.
True. I do also have mixed feelings as well. And I could say mines are leaning a bit more on the positive end of things,
hmm
but still, it was a surprising batch, especially with the additional or substitutional movie
hmm
we picked. It was an interesting batch. We had
It's a lot of
common
sci-fi.
a lot of sci-fi, a lot of common tropes
hmm
between the three shows in a sense, or
hmm
like what would you call it, like common
Themes.
themes
Yeah.
from here and there. But still, I enjoyed it, even though I had to binge like most of it in literal like 4 days.
Yeah.
Still, it was most certainly fun. So,
Yeah. To kick things off,
yep.
we're gonna do as per usual my forced watch, and my forced watch for this month was Summertime Rendering, which as I mentioned last episode, this is the first time I am recommending an anime that I hadn't finished before, recommending it to the podcast. So it was a bit of me like exploring that as well, and kind of figuring out how I feel about the show. That said, Summertime Rendering was produced by OLM, which if you are like in the anime space and like you're like, who's OLM? I don't know who OLM is. It's because they do fucking Pokemon and like all of Pokemon, like all the movies, every season. Like, so you're like, are they a big studio? Why does it look good? And it's because they literally do like one of the longest running series there is. They've also done Berserk 1997, which is kind of arguably one of the better adaptations of Berserk, sadly enough. They did Odd Taxi, which is a favorite of mine that I may recommend at some point. And then they also did a show that I don't like, is Komi Can't Communicate.
Aren't they also the studio that's doing Apothecary Diaries? Was it called that?
Yes,
English
so they
name?
also did Apothecary Diaries,
Yeah.
yes.
And that's pretty like
Yeah, that was a
solid, yeah.
really pop. I believe Apothecary Diaries is also a collaboration. I can't remember if I
Okay.
can't remember if it's OLM and Madhouse. I think that's what it is. I could be wrong. Editor me will correct me at this point, but yeah. Summertime Running is based on a manga. It was in Shonen Jump Plus, which if you don't know what Shonen Jump Plus is, it is basically like the online platform that Shonen Jump introduced like several years back at this point. But a lot of big shows have come off of it, most notably like Chainsaw Man. I believe Kaiju number 8 was Shonen
is
Jump
there,
Plus.
yeah.
Editor me might have to save me here, but there's a lot of really big shows that, or like even manga and anime, or anime based off that manga that came from Shonen Jump Plus, which is kind of aimed at the, not exactly shonen, but more seinen, young adult 18 to 25 range of,
I think Dragon Ball is there too.
the most recent one probably. But yeah, Shonen Jump Plus was like a completely different initiative. They kind of started as online. It was 13 chapters. It went from 2017 to, I believe it ended 2021. I think I miswrote that. And the writer was Tanaka Yasuki, but he's not really done too much. Like if you for some reason know about Ghost Fixers or Kanjin, I believe those are his two biggest ones. That said, I Summertime Rendering, I believe, was like his like big jump on the scene, more or less.
Yeah, for sure. Because I personally don't know.
I mean, there's a lot
Like
of these mangakas that will like
Kagjin,
they kind of have their one manga that blows up and that's their thing. Like, I mean, to a more extreme example, last week we talked about Asado, who had did a light novel instead. But
yeah,
there are some that are from what I remember when Summertime Rendering was coming out, it was pretty hyped, all things considered.
they did a good PR on that. 'Cause
Yeah, it
I
was pretty
remember
good.
like seeing it because I wasn't necessarily searching for new seasonals, and I remember when it came out, like it would literally pop up as a commercial on like my YouTube feed or whatever else. Like, so
Yeah.
PR work was good.
The music director is done by so music is not music director, but the composers were Keiichi Okabe, Keigo Hoshi, and Ryuichi Takara. You probably only know Okabe, who has done a shitload of stuff, most notably Nier Automata. Like
Yeah,
that, like in terms of musical works, especially in like the past 10 years, or maybe I believe it's been 10 years. But Nier Automata is like one of the games of all time to talk about with music. Like very
true.
much like one of the games of all time to talk about with music. He's also done like a Smash Ultimate, Drakengard.
A lot of people would know Bakemonogatari.
Yeah,
Like,
Bakemonogatari, My Teen Romantic Comedy Snafu, or in Japanese it's Oregairu. Yeah, I don't know why they translated it like that. And also Working, which I know has a very specific fan base.
Yep, one of those niche.
But yeah, the music in this is phenomenal. Okabe is like, I mean, he's a genius. Like I would say, like he's not in my top 3 personally, but I mean, like Nier Automata is like generational level of work. The sound director was Koizumi Kosuke, who has done a lot of big things, most notably Chainsaw Man, unfortunately, but Dororo, as well as Orb, which we had talked about already, and he's also done God of High School and Campfire Cooking in Another World, which is my only isekai I will ever indulge in.
Yeah. And that is also a seasonal, right? There's
Yeah.
season 2 of it?
It's
Okay.
they're on the season 2 now, which
That's
we'll get to
nice.
in a little bit. The director was Ayumu Watanabe, who not that Watanabe. You're not it's not the
Yeah.
Watanabe who does fucking Bebop and Lazarus and all that. He's not that Watanabe. He's done Space Brothers, which I know is a pretty beloved anime. He also did the Ace Attorney anime, which is sick. After the Rain, which I believe is a kind of more melancholy show, and he also did Komi Can't Communicate, and most importantly, one of the most hyped anime that's upcoming next year is Witch Hat Atelier, which I believe is actually, it was slated for this year but got delayed. But I know Witch Hat Atelier has a lot of hype. Like, I believe it's had even more hype than like Freyrin, so I'm excited for that. But he's a relatively experienced director, like actually doing director work. So, I mean, you can see it in Summertime Rendering for sure.
I think, and I was just double checking myself, because I don't feel like we encountered those a lot, but he actually did a relatively popular movie, which the English name for it should be Children of the Sea.
You know why I didn't include that?
Yeah.
I didn't like it.
Oh, you didn't like it? Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I can see that, but like it was, I'm just including it because it was like a relatively popular
Yeah.
one in terms of like movies go,
Yeah.
or as far as movies go. So he also directed that one, which some of you might know the movie.
And then Summertime Rendering, you can actually watch in a couple places. I believe it's on Hulu and Disney Plus. I wouldn't recommend it on watching on Hulu Disney Plus just because it's annoying. But yeah, it's a relatively out there anime. You'll probably find it. It also depends on regions for sure. And that said, what is Summertime Rendering? Because Summertime Rendering is like a lot of different things kind of all together. It's time travel, it's like, doppelgangers, it's Japanese folklore. And despite having like all of these like super interesting things, like it's really like there's so much you can go into. Like it has so many different routes that it can go down. Summertime Rendering tends to go down the route you least expect. At least in the first half. Because the twists and turns near the end of Summertime Rendering, in my opinion, like really slow down. And like the roller coaster psycho thriller tries to convince you that it wanted a safe, happy ending by the end of it, which feels wrong to me. The setting and genre is, like I said, it's, rural Japan, but an island, pretty beaches, small towns, it's very nostalgic if you have watched that type of anime. The genre is like a bit of a mishmash. Like, in my opinion, Summertime Rendering wants to be a psycho thriller. Like, it really does, but it's sometimes compelled to be more of an action drama, like, especially later on.
Oh yeah, like roughly halfway through, it
It has a
literally
clear halfway
shifts. Yeah, yeah,
point.
yeah. Like it shifts drastically.
Eh,
It's not bad.
no, it's not bad. But I do have opinions on it.
Yeah, of course.
And the art for me, I love the art. I think OLM does a lot of really pretty work. I mean, look at Apothecary Diaries. OLM is very pretty stuff. I'm a huge fan of the glitch aesthetic that they kind of go for. I think it's
Yeah.
very. I think it's a bit edgy sometimes, but I personally really enjoy it, and I think a lot of anime are scared to do it out of the concern of being called edgy per se. I would say the music and sound design is also really strong. For me, the music especially. I mean, I would say Okabe doesn't do anything near levels in this, but he does. He definitely has a strong role. And I don't
No,
know.
sound is good.
Yeah. But for me, it's just like this kind of shows like for people who aren't familiar with OLM, like OLM's good. They just literally don't have the time to do this stuff.
Yeah.
Like they do Pokemon, and it's like people might criticize them for how they do Pokemon, but it's like Pokemon's one of the few like weekly shows that they'll do. Like
And it's been going
yeah, it's just
a
like
minute.
it's a very different beast to do. Like
Yeah.
people forget that like seasonals are like there's still shows that are like non-seasonal, and like non-seasonal shows are a whole different beast production wise. Like
Yeah.
it's literally a completely different production because you have deliverables at an unrealistic time period. But that said, for a lot of people who might see this show, they might see it as a not niche show, and the reason because it was pretty popular when it came out. The reason I consider this niche, even though it's like from 2022 and spring 2022, is if you look at spring 2022. Spy X Family came out in spring 2022. And that
Yeah.
cannibalized literally every other show in that season.
That is true.
Like every other show in that season.
And like even non-Spy X Family, like there was a bunch of other shows that picked more attention than Summertime Render in comparison to Spy X Family. So I'd like
Ignore me. I'm not pulling it up right now.
no, you're good. So like even compared to the pretty good amount of PRing they did, still was not the most popular anime show of that season or year. So
A year is a completely different story. So what came out also was Kaguya-sama Love is War Ultra Romantic, which was season 3, which was also, if you don't know, it's also like where the big scene, quote unquote big scene happens. Rising of the Shield Hero happened, which I guess that happens.
there's a big fan base to that.
Unfortunately. Komi Can't Communicate season 2.
There's a decent amount of people who likes that.
Yeah, there's a decent number of stuff that's, but mainly it's like Spy X Family. Like there's very few other shows that have maybe taken over the world like Spy X Family.
No,
Because
that
like
was
because people can talk about like I mean I don't want to talk about Spy X Family too much, but like Chainsaw Man for example like took over the world, but not like Spy X Family. Spy X Family was like your brother and sister
yeah.
were watching Spy X Family, right? It was a very different beast. So even though like Summertime Rendering was pretty popular at the time, and like I would say in like if Spy X Family or if Summertime Rendering came out like in like 2 seasons later or something like that, it definitely could have been like the most popular, second most popular anime of that season. It's just it was in a different world.
It literally could have been released like 2 months later and avoid only Spy X Family and probably would be much more popular than it is.
Yeah, because a lot of people I know passed up on the show because of Spy X Family.
Because of Anya. No. Well,
Yeah.
there is a gigantic fan base of her. So kind of true.
Yeah, there is. That being said, like to get your thoughts on the show, we've watched weirdly enough a ton of time travel anime, and we are continuing to watch a ton of time travel anime on this show. I might get into why that is a bit later, but I'm curious to what your thoughts were on because Summertime does it in such a different way than a lot of other time traveling shows, even though it's the same concept that we've seen a bunch before, which is repeating day. It is still very different.
That is true. There were really specific elements that I liked about how they approached time traveling, like the mechanic of it, pros and cons of it, if you will say that. I certainly did enjoy it, and we will mention this again. We watched out of the 3 There's two that are related to time traveling, obviously, and they kind of avoided the classic tropes as much as they can, which I enjoyed because not just anime, there's a lot of time travel related like media release being done. Um, and it's been like that since maybe like mid 2010. So whenever they get out of that classic like rules and structures that we're too much familiar with, I'm like, okay, this is actually a good take on it. Other than that, some like few things that I want to add in regards to the show's production side of thing. Not a lot. I just only wanted to mention like the sound design a bit more because they first of all they use the full spectrum of frequency literally.
Yes, they do.
Like they did not shy away from hitting us with low lows and high highs. I loved the photo machine esque effect they
Oh yeah,
utilized.
when the shadows.
Yeah. That approach was, I think, perfect and makes sense, or helps with how they describe how that skill works as well. Like everything they did sound wise, like other than using the whole spectrum, they also designed it so it would make sense with the explanation why it sounded like that. For the audience, like for us for people who lives in real world, and they didn't shy away from kind of borrowing things from our real life, obviously,
Yeah,
but as well as incorporating them in different ways. So that's I feel like is not something we see enough of, and I actually enjoyed it while watching the show.
For me, one of the things that stuck out is shadows as a concept can be very boring, like really fucking boring. And I think they both designed them pretty well. The ideas, the morphs, all that animation stuff, I think plays to it really strong. Summertime rendering is battling a lot of different like story archetypes. It's about like when you do time travel, people expect a certain thing. When you do doppelgangers, people expect a certain thing.
True.
When you do boy coming back to hometown, they expect a certain story to be told. And I applaud summertime rendering, especially in the first 5 episodes,
Yeah.
neglecting all of that and saying, we're going to play with these elements, but this is our story, right? We're going to do what we feel is going to travel, like they're going to take us the furthest, and they're going to, allow us to make something that is our own. For me, like a lot of why it's so good is because of how dark the show gets. It gets so dark so fast. Like it is insane. By like episode 3, you're like already seeing like tons of blood and gore, and you're already feeling very uncomfortable watching Shin be out of his like element. And I think that's not something a lot of anime wants to do to a protagonist that at that point for Shin is very powerless. And I think making a character kind of suffer in a very confusing way, because I don't think you by episode 3 or episode 5 understand the scope of the narrative just yet.
Oh no.
And I think that's I think a lot of it's not very. I think I've described things that are like I think someone might think I would describe summertime rendering as torture porny, but I don't think it really is, because I think it appropriately places Shin to have the ability to have action but fail. Whereas with torture point, it is a character that is incapable of succeeding or is in a situation where their sole goal is to suffer. I think it's a lot more about Shin failing consistently, and kind of coming to terms with his inadequacies and then re-looping. That kind of makes it not as egregious in that regard. I think sometimes it can be a bit much. I think there are elements here and there, but I do think, especially within the first 12 episodes, what makes it so, the pacing is so, it is like, I would describe some pacings like this to feel maybe a bit rushed, but it feels like it's pulling you somewhere like deep into a forest, and you're not ready for it, but it's like a good thing.
I'd say, regardless of the shift, like almost in the theme or like how they approach the subject at hand, the pacing is pretty consistent. Like it does not, at least out of almost everything we watched, almost
Yes.
not exactly, but almost. It has the most consistent one that's not necessarily like it doesn't start too slow, it doesn't start too fast. Like here and there it does like slow down or like speed up, but I never felt like how like when you're driving, like when you suddenly slow down, like it's now you're like, oh, like why are we going
Yeah,
so
yeah.
slow, like that kind of feeling. Like it never, or like when you suddenly speed up you're like, whoa, like why are we, like we never had those moments in my opinion.
So I would
But
say that I feel like so the thing with the pacing of the first 12 episodes, it is the one of the few shows that I think actually maintains the fast pacing right. Like it actually has
mhm,
time for the characters in those times. It has time to explain the plot. It has time for the action. It actually budgets itself super well,
yeah,
while also having an incredible through line of you have because like the first half of the show plays psycho thriller mystery of what are these shadows,
yeah,
what is going to happen, how can we stop them, building together the story, like piecing together the
yeah,
story that is happening. That is like basically the underlying narrative. Like it is a narrative of a narrative, more or less. It is the narrative of the island, and then Shin's then experiencing that narrative from the quote unquote mind's eye. And I think how that plays within the first 12 episodes is incredibly exciting. Like I don't think there's many other anime that I can describe to be as exciting as the first 12 episodes of Summertime Rendering, just solely because you're discovering so many new things at such a rapid pace, but it feels very natural.
yeah.
Like you're following Shin's thoughts super well.
It is like them, almost like they show every step throughout the journey,
Hmm.
but we're not hovering over unnecessary like interactions and subject so much to the point where like it becomes boring and like slow.
Yeah,
Like they
yeah.
they
There's
have a tasteful amount of everything that you probably end up questioning and wanting to know, but then they don't stay there too long and just switch to the next destination, I
and the
guess.
reason why it can work and function that way is because Shin and Ushio is a really strong core. I think their dynamic is really well played, and I think Ushio as a character is someone that is really easy to mess up,
Yeah.
very gung ho, like tomboy, kind of Naruto esque kind of regards of like almost shonen protagonist. Like
Yeah.
we're gonna go do it, and I'm a little stupid. But, like she has an honest and earnestness to her, and she has. There's a lot. They play a lot with Shin and Ushio's like knowledge of each other and how much they care about each other. There's a lot of nuance and detail about what they
Mhm.
know about each other, and the tragedy of their tale, really plays a large part of why you care about the relationship. And it's like it's such a insane thing to talk about this show so highly this much, and the next line I'm about to say is going to make you feel terrible. But the show has really, really weak villains. I praise the
Yeah.
shadows, I praise all these things, but we're not going to get into spoilers yet. I'll let you know when. But when you boil these villains down, their motivations are weak, and not only are their motivations weak, is it feels like they not actually like they are interacting with the main characters a ton, but it's almost like the way they interact with them feels like because it is a mystery. Whether the show wants to admit it's a mystery show or not, like it really wants to be an action drama, but it is a mystery. And in
Well,
a
yeah.
mystery, it feels like there needs to be fair
It
rules.
has some classic mystery tropes as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. That's
So
what I'm
it's
saying.
like,
Is it's like it follows certain genre tropes that it needs to kind of abide and respect that it's a mystery. But the villains are constantly kind of breaking the rules that it feels like you're not in having that
mm,
interaction between villain and main character, and it doesn't feel like a dynamic is built between them. There's like a certain point by episode 12. I think this is not too much of a spoiler, but let's just say that Shin gets marked. And that is like, oh, that's the one fair like kind of interaction between the two characters. But then after that, it just feels like the villains are so far ahead of the main character that it's just like, well, they don't really feel like they're interacting. It feels like they're kind of beating them
yeah.
down.
It kind of feels, yeah, in that regard, it kind of feels messed up at some point because you're like, Shin and I guess his side had one thing going for them,
Yeah.
and that's but maybe that's the feeling. Like now I'm thinking maybe that was what they wanted to do, like make us feel. Maybe they actually wanted us to think like they had one thing, and even that's gone now. What the heck are they gonna do? And then maybe that's how they justified the other thing that I know you're not that happy with in terms of something Shin's side gains.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
maybe that was the idea. I don't know.
For me, a big thing is that so the narrative that is apparent in a lot of doppelganger type things is what is the difference between a human and a doppelganger, and like the thing that they try to pull is like the unwavering human spirit and that same type of thing. And I don't think that they actually, because the thing is, it'd be different if they tried to ignore this, but they do kind of like brush up against the idea of like the unwavering human spirit kind of being able to overcome the shadow's enormous like power gap between them, and like
Yeah.
the ingenuity type. And it feels like the reasons why Shin and Ushio succeed aren't because of their own volition, but rather them basically cheating the game too. And that's really not rewarding to me. As like, I'm not looking
Yeah.
for satisfaction, but it feels like I, as a viewer, was cheated with what I was trying to follow along with.
I can see that. Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't. The thing is, after they start shifting, like, first of all, I did not expect them to shift as much as they did to begin with,
Mm-hmm.
because the first 12 episodes really felt like they were on a good way. They had it, like, it had its balance. Like, I feel like, okay, like this, almost like a human being. Like, you watch the first 12 episodes and I'm like, yeah, okay, they're like personality developed. Like, this show's personality. And then like, and that kind of gets you curious, because now you're like, okay, like this is this anime's personality, and what are they gonna do with it? Because that's the foundational stone that keeps you questioning certain things. That mashup they did
Mm-hmm.
for those first 12 episodes, and then it shifts, and then you're like, oh, okay, like they are gonna make it much more, in a sense, obvious, I guess you could say. Like,
Yeah, but for me, okay, so like if I love that I can do this now. Now that we have this reference point of 86, we can now compare it to something like 86, where 86's first 12 episodes, tight, fast, like, a certain genre of
yeah,
like war. And then you watch part two and it's like, holy shit, the step back. But it's very intentional. It stays true to what it wants. It knows it's going to revisit and use the themes and ideas that were built in part one, where it feels like part two of well, more or less part two of Summertime Rendering is a rejection of some parts of part one, which it is, whether it's because of how Ushio functions as a character, whether it's because of how we should look at Haine and how we should look at Shide as characters.
mhm,
I think a lot of that is tearing down what was built up in part one, which feels really unsatisfying as a viewer to watch, because it feels like you are wasting time. Because I think Summertime Rendering wants to be happier than part one is, like with how it kind of slows down at certain points during part two. It wants to
yeah,
build and do certain human and character things that it wasn't doing in part one. But it's like I'm someone who loves character shows. But I think Summertime Rendering legitimately would have benefited from being a more focused show on Shin and Ushio, and not trying to spend these time with these characters that are in the side, because quite frankly, they chose to not build them in part one. Like, it was about the pace. And it's like, that's fine. You can do that. I think as like a psycho thriller mystery, you can do that. But as it slows down and it tries to build time and space for these things, you lose a lot of well, it's not all because of the pacing. It is quite frankly by some of the writing choices too. But you lose a bit about what your goal is as a show, which they were trying to really, I don't know. It felt wrong. I will say that.
for me, I'll say this, like, it's the mystery element, like, fades away too fast
Yes.
from that point on. Like, it's, for me, like, and this is just like a analogy to convey it better, but like the first 12 episodes almost felt like a time travel sci-fi Agatha Christie in a sense,
Yeah.
as in like a lot of stuff going around, like I was like, okay, this is interesting. And then, like I said, episode 12 and on, it started losing that way too quick. Like if they did it with a bit more moderation and like let's say it kind of faded out naturally towards the last like 4 episodes ish, it would have been much more satisfying in terms of the whole progression of the storyline. But it got almost like like that feeling got demolished
Yeah.
within a matter of few episodes from 12
I
and
think
on.
legitimately 4 episodes.
Yeah.
I think it took 4 episodes for them to kill the feeling. And I think the
And
I'm
just so like sorry for that. Just so if y'all didn't catch that, it's 24 episodes. So like if it's like when
or is
it's
it 25? I think it's 25.
25, yeah. So
Yeah.
if it's dying literally on episode 16, you still got almost 10, like 9 episodes to go through without that feeling, which is it like
Yeah, it'd be one thing if it was getting close to the ending and it was just doing a little, I don't know. I'm going to get into the spoiler section now because
Yeah.
I think there is a culprit here that is very easy to talk about, which I'll just call Ushio ex machina. Because there's a difference between having Ushio at the core of the show. It's another thing for her to be the narrative plot device that will solve all of their issues. Her basically being quote unquote the egg and being able to like reverse hack, and then she's like an insanely powerful shadow, and like despite her being like a reject shadow and all these, it's like it feels so unnatural to the story, and it gives Shin power in a way that doesn't feel earned per se. Like it doesn't feel like, because a lot of the show felt like, oh, Shin's supposed to be outsmarting them and doing all these things, and another flaw is that Shin has this quote unquote, I have my mind's eye. I can have this ability to take a step back and see everything for what it's truly worth.
That's
and
a coin flip.
motherfucker makes the most random ass decisions sometimes that is just based off recklessness and anger and emotion, which is fine. I get it. But his whole thing is that he has mind's eye, and it feels like it's contradictory like
His
all
whole
the time.
thing is you're not reading it right. His whole thing is that he has it 50% of the time.
Yeah, bro has 2 eyes and it's like, all right.
Exactly. He coin flips, you know?
It's incredibly frustrating when Ushio kind of becomes the catch-all. Well, we just need to have Ushio with us, and then we'll solve it. It's insane to me because while I like Ushio as a character, I do not like her as the end-all, be-all plot of the entire story.
Yeah.
Because they build up a ton of things in the world and a ton of things I care about, even if they're not exactly character things. It's a lot of folklore. It's a lot of town history and like all these things that are, sci-fi elements that get solved by Ushio being there.
My problem was not so much was like it wasn't so much with the fact that Ushio was like the main problem solving component, or like her gaining these abilities or whatsoever. It was more like throughout the whole anime, we are literally like, what do you say, like bathed with Shinpei's like, I'm not strong enough.
Oh, yeah.
I have to get stronger. I can't protect anyone. I can't protect me or whatever. All that like drama within like his inner self, right? Literally up till like episode like 22 or 3, whatever, you have no whatsoever progression
Yep.
for his strength aspect of like characteristics. Like you literally have nothing. That's my problem. Like the whole like Ushio can be the main point. I have no problem with that personally, but when you're like pushing the fact that the main character wants to somehow improve himself, and you don't do anything to do that, and then introduce this character as the main problem solver component, it kind of messes up a lot of things throughout the way.
The way I see it is that Ushio is stealing the ability for Shin to have moments to succeed. Part of it is again the villains. Like Shide as a villain is really fucking terrible. Like he's not a well-written villain. You don't care about his motivation. He's Grr, I'm evil. I want to destroy the world because if I'm not in the world, I want everyone to die. It's Heine being a character that they give literally one flashback episode to, and you expect to empathize with them, despite her being more or less like a
that's
murderer.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of this is like it's
That's why they made her a kid. Like
Yeah,
since there's a lack of amount you spend with her, because as humans you see a kid suffering and you're like, and literally I feel like that's what they did, because we have a whole episode of her just whining, like at the end, like
you know what's crazy about her is that she has the same voice actress as Frederica from '86, and it's like whiny kid that I actually care about and whiny kid that is so fucking annoying. Please shut the fuck up.
not even whining. I was talking about like when she's like and I'm talking about spoilers for you at this point, but towards the end she's like a fetus or whatever, and then she's just screaming in pain.
Yeah.
For the whole episode.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so that's literally the way they tried to make us feel bad for the villain and be like, yeah, actually, like, she's not that bad. Like, let's help her, is by making a fetus-sized baby scream in pain and just making that character a child. Because as humans, when we see stuff like that, we're more leaning towards like, oh, so sad, but like that's not a good thing to do for story.
No, it's equivalent to like about Save the Cat as like in writing, where it's like you literally like, oh, I want this character to be likable, save the cat type thing. Very common thing is that you have a baby crying and it like makes you feel like a need to justify it or protect it or yada yada yada. And Shine Haine
Which kind of did work on me. I'm not gonna lie, but
like it's
obvious.
it's not good writing. It's simply not good writing. It is it's the way they set up Haine as I think that if you're trying to have a redeemable villain, you need to do a lot more steps than just make them a child who is but their past is complicated and like they're just a kid. It's like you need to do more than that, legitimately, or you need to, if you're going to do that, show it more than just one flashback episode with Hizuru, which I enjoy Hizuru, or like Nagumo as a character, and I enjoy her brother as a character. I think they're great. I think they're enjoyable. They don't get enough free time, or not enough like screen time in general. I think a lot of the characters suffer from that, but the character who does get the most screen time and does fucking nothing is Mio. Like, there's a lot of damsels in stories. Lots of damsels. I think most people have done like character analysis if you've read enough literature. Like I read quite a bit of literature in college about it. Damsels in storytelling is not a great thing to have. Like there are times where it functions and makes sense, but it is such a relic of the past. And seeing Mio on screen so much, just sitting there doing nothing except screaming like Shin, or like being powerless, or basically just getting the shit kicked out of her or killed. It's so exhausting.
She's not your favorite character?
Yeah, no, she's not my favorite Mio. Literally, her shadow is a more interesting version of her than Mio herself. Because, like, they, like, literally tried to make Mio, like, their whole thing is, like, oh, she has feeling for Shin. So I'm like, okay, is she gonna grow and, like, have resolve or do anything? No. But Mio's shadow actually has a character arc, kind of with, kind of, like, wanting to feel accepted.
By the way.
Try, like, do you trust me? Am I someone that, like, you're willing to take, like, it's like Mio's shadow actually does shit. Meanwhile, Mio is sitting there just being like, Shin doesn't love me. Well, I guess I'll fucking, I don't know. I guess I'll leave.
I'll add on that the only progression we see from Mio is her opening up to Shin.
Yeah.
And that happens because Shadow Mio threatens her.
Yeah.
That if she didn't, the Shadow Mio would do it herself.
Yeah.
And
for me, it's just like when you have a side character with a disproportionate amount of screen time, because low-key, I think the concept of what Summertime Running was supposed to be was Shin, Ushio, Mio. The way the story plays out is Shin, Ushio, and Mio. And it's like a secondary thing. But she gets so much screen time kind of naturally because they both care about her that it just is like, it feels wrong because I'm like, I would love to know more about so I would love to, like, the guilt of, feeling like your family has done terrible things and that, how do you make amends? Tokiko, who had to take a burden of generations,
Yeah.
Tokiko gets butchered because she like reveals herself as evil, and then in like loop afterwards.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, oh, by the way, we know you're evil. Do you want to work with us? And it's like completely ignored and completely jumped. And I'm like, bro, I feel like she needs to come to terms with things. Like, I feel like, she should, have to fight her inner self and her past. And, all like Tokyo just agrees to it. And that's because she has a crush on Mio. Like, it's because of that. But it's like, I don't know what's wrong with that bloodline, honestly. That bloodline is just straight going for Mio. But it's like,
That is true.
Yeah, it's a bloodline thing. But it's like, for me, I was just like, why? It's like, why are you taking these two characters who have a more interesting part of the story that's integrated with the narrative? These are people who are directly responsible for the shadows, and then not give them the appropriate time. So is reduced to just someone who is, I care about you, Mio, more often than not. When the more interesting part about
props to So my guy took a whole fucking
my guy's in a
X.
desert. He's in a desert, and he is trying. He's like looking for an oasis.
Yeah, but like my guy took a whole X. Like,
Yeah.
he opened up, got rejected, still took an axe in the head.
Yeah.
Like a real person right there.
Yeah.
True to his word.
For me, that's like a big problem with like why, like, as a character show, I was very unimpressed with Summertime Rendering, even though like I like character shows more, like obviously fucking 86. But like seeing a show that had this great idea, try to lean on its characters when they weren't built up to do that, was really disappointing.
I would really love, like, for example, from that episode 12 and on we mentioned, I would love if they leaned towards the backstories or like exploring the personalities of those characters a bit more. It would do so much good for the show.
Yeah, the problem is the show has this obligation still. It has such an obligation to its, time travel archetype story, as well as the shadows and all of these things, that it doesn't, despite it wanting to do character things, not having the time to do character things. Like, you can really see in, like, there's, like, I think there's, like, literally, when they're in the gymnasium, it's like, oh, this would be a great time for, characters to be like, hey, we're about to go fight the shadows, let's talk and do things. And then it's, like, literally, like, oh, by the way, fucking Shin gets shot. We need to talk more about time looping and stuff like that. And like,
true, yeah.
it's crazy how often in the show it needs to feel like it needs to be like, we need to explain a new mechanic. It's like overwhelms you with the mechanics and like the lore a bit much when it's trying to do character things. Like, really, it needs to choose.
Yeah, I feel like there's some wrong picks in terms of who they focus to, like literally, like in terms of flashbacks and like letting us know about their history and stuff.
I don't fucking care about Heine. I don't care about Heine.
Not even that. Even arguably the father.
Yeah, I don't care.
We have like a solid like 5 to 6 minute flashback of his youth and like what he, like his relationship with their mother and stuff, and like that could have been more verbal, less like visual, and other characters could have more visual backstory to, like, given to us, and that would have made more sense. By the way, we're talking about a dude that literally like is the villain for like an episode technically, and within that frame we like spend an unnecessary amount of backstory for him just to see him like what, by the way, without thinking a second, shooting his own daughter, like, just to see that, and then it's all done.
Well,
like,
with him, it's like within, I believe it's like Dr. Higashi or whatever the last name of their family is.
Hishigata.
Hishigata. Like, literally with him, within the first, once they introduce you that he is a doctor whose wife died and he is replacing them with shadows, you know his entire story. You literally don't need to see anything else. Like, you get his motive. You understand it. It's like, oh, it's tragic. Maybe it's like, maybe a bit overplayed here and there, but I get it. I don't need to see shit about him. I get it.
And yet they show literally a like 6 minute montage, not a montage, but like a flashback of his past, and it's like,
yeah, for me,
give it to. Look, this is controversial. This is a hot take, okay?
Okay.
But they could have given that to Heine, and at least Heine would have been a better like developed character and made more sense for the story. at the very
I
least.
mean, one could even argue, I don't give a fuck that Shide is Giga Evil. Like, I don't need to know that
Yeah.
he's Giga Evil incarnate. Like, that's great. Like, I don't care that he's irredeemable or whatever. I was actually, because I had to do some, I was doing some, like, pulling images and doing research for the show, and I looked at the wiki for Summertime Rendering, and God bless the hearts of people who write wikis, because some of them are very useful. Other times I can tell like there's a group of about like 18-year-olds and like 17-year-olds writing these, and it just says at the bottom, it says trivia. Shide is the only irredeemable character in the show. And I'm like, yeah, no shit. And also, what? I don't think that's trivia, but sure, that's trivia. Whatever, sure. And I was just like, yeah, okay. But yeah, Shide as a character also gets a ton of time for no reason. It's like, great, you just need to
Yeah.
let me know he's a piece of shit. I don't care.
And then the problem is the way we get exposed to Shide. Like, us not seeing him throughout the story and then experiencing this like immeasurable amount, like within the vicinity of this show, immeasurable amount of flashback and backstory within the last like few episodes. I'm like, you could have spread it out, like as in how much his character has screen time, but not necessarily giving us that much backstory, and it would still make sense. You wouldn't have to spend that much time on that specific character. We would still know the backstory and his motivation, and it would not be like a forced down pill like through our throats of Shide for a few episodes.
I mean, also structurally, the show's as crazy as it is that I praise the show structurally for like episodes 1 through 12. The show's structure in episodes 13 to 25 are super messy. It doesn't know what it wants. The way it loops becomes very boring because it kind of only loops at like really predictable points. Besides the one time where it's incredibly unpredictable, where Shin just gets shot, like and it's a cut, and it's like, for me, it's like, Shide, why does Shide die last? Why is he the final boss? Like, there's a way that you can do it where it's like they're saving Heine as a like. I think Shide being the final boss, and then also a World War II final boss. Shocking. You thought this anime wasn't about World War II? Go fuck yourself. Nope. It's always about World War II. It always will be.
I was laughing so hard.
It's literally just like, and that's it. It's like,
They could have stick to like some older Japan period or something. But
they could have had it been like a volcano going off or something. They could have done a billion different things. It was like, no, fighter jets.
that was so fun and so suddenly too. Like they're just in this realm and like suddenly fucking World War II planes.
It's like literally
merge.
like an upside down world. Like reality doesn't make sense in this
Yeah.
world, right? That's the whole thing. Is it's like literally like basically like the upside down type. It's like, whoa, this is weird. And then it's like just the thing I last expected in an anime. Yes, fighter
A
jets.
fucking pro planner starts dropping a bomb. Like that's
To get to the ending of Summertime Rendering, it's really stumbling and just feels like it needs to get there because it set the goal.
yeah.
And as it hits that goal, it asks the viewer, is that actually what you wanted? Because we kind of didn't. In episode 25, I would like to get your opinion on it before I talk about it, is a redo, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on it?
So, does the ending makes an objectively like good, or like is it the objectively best ending in terms of like increasing the overall quality of this anime or story? No. Though I feel like a lot of people every now and then with shows like this kind of craves like a happy ending, if you will, where they like kind of want to be rewarded after seeing like these characters suffering and in this instance dying and like being tortured over and over and over, where like they almost feel a need for like a fresh breath or something of that regard. And whilst I'm not necessarily of that opinion, did I still enjoy the fact that Ushio and
Shin?
Shin, yeah, like ending up together and like being like they were able to be together, I was like, nice, like that literally is my take, like nice, like whatever.
For me, it's not. I wasn't like, oh, this ruins the whole show or anything dramatic like that. But it just felt like, man, this show's goes up so hard
Yeah.
and it falls hard off. That's the thing that, and this was kind of like the cherry on top of really making me be like, yeah, I was right that this show kind of took a nosedive. Not in like not in a horrible way.
Like it does not go like down.
The show's quality is not that it is terrible. It is that it is letting its own expectations down so hard that it is hard to watch because of that. Because again, like we've praised episodes 1 through 12 so much.
And again, even after, like I'll give them this, like as far as like action,
Yes, pretty good.
and like kind of giving us that adrenaline feeling through what's going on the screen. It still does a good job. It's just the way they play the first 12 and then the last 13, I guess, is not the same. The last 13 feels like a much more generic, like
Generic is the word.
anime that you would be watching out of a season, and the first 12 feels like, oh, like this is gonna be something special. That's the issue.
Yeah.
But
yeah, for the ending, like I liked seeing Ushio and Shin together, but also if you think about like the plot holes that exist, it's like, wait, if the whale undid everything and Shin's parents are alive, why is he close to Ushio like this? Wait, but if Shin's parents are alive, why would he want to go into cooking? Because probably the reason why he wants to go into cooking is because of Alan, and that's the whole reason why he would go to like
well, one like plot hole that I can't answer is the closeness they have.
But I mean, yeah, like,
but that's because like their parents were really close
no,
friends
but for
too,
me, I
like-
went down like a pipeline. I was like, and you can go down a pipeline of watching that last episode and being like, holy shit, none of this technically makes sense because it's like all of this stuff got undone. It's like Ryunosuke is alive. Like, I was like, oh my god. So like. For me, it's like it was really hard for me to care about the ending because, like, again, I like seeing Ushio and Shin together.
Yeah.
If this show wanted to be a romance anime, it needed to make that, or not even romance anime, like even just a happy slice of life ending. It needed to make that choice much earlier.
That is
like
true.
it really needs to be like, if you wanted this happy ending, you needed to meet me halfway somewhere, as opposed to being like literally like we're doing an action scene with Shide for like episode 23, and I'm just like, I'm bored out of my mind at this point. I'm like, I mean, it's kind of fun action and it's like cool rules that they're playing with kind of, but it's like meaningless. It is the amount of times they fought Shide, and I think that's part of it, is the amount of times they fought Shide, and it doesn't really feel like it's different. It's just like they're doing a slightly different thing, as in Ushio has more powers now. That's basically all they're doing. It's like Ushio's like, I can become the bullet, and then it will reverse hack and break his armor, and it's just like, okay, cool. I guess we win now. It doesn't feel like they earned it, you know? It doesn't feel like they came through a revelation of how to defeat him.
You know what I felt like that was unnecessary and like fucking weird?
What?
When Ushio started turning into a kid. Dude, that was so random. Like I was like, because
it was a very Japanese thing to do.
Yes,
and you know exactly why.
But here's the thing also. It's weird to the point where like it happened, right? Like she started turning into like a more childlike person, physically, not mentally, all, because that's how Japanese do. Anyways, I'm just kidding. But yeah, it's like I'm like, wait, did the art change for her? And like, because some cutscenes, it feels like almost she didn't change.
No,
but then like they have this specific angle, and I'm like, no, she definitely seems closer to Heine in size over here. And then I doubted myself, and they were like, she's turning into a child. And I'm like, of course she is, like, because why the fuck not?
But
like,
it serves no point. It literally serves no point.
Yeah,
it just
doesn't.
happens. And it's just like, ah.
Because, like, the thing is, throughout the, like, they say, like, she is losing power, she's turning into a child, and, like, she's literally she's literally been losing her power in every other episode,
and yet
since we got introduced to her. So
she is still fucking the only reason they're able to do anything.
Exactly.
So it's like, there's so many problems with how, again, it's a lot of the decision making about summertime rendering that is disappointing. It is the execution itself. I would not say I criticize the action. I would even not say that the writing is that poor. Like the
No,
writing
yeah.
in what they're doing is not poor. It is the decision and the lack of cohesion in the narrative that makes it feel like an unrewarding experience.
I will praise them with one decision making on my end for the ending though, that they gave a proper full episode of the good ending they did.
Yes, it's much better than a montage of like, 1 minute at the end.
Like I hate, and there's, I don't know why this become the norm or like the standard, but there's a shit ton of anime out there that when we reach to that good ending, it's just like a 30-second montage that leaves you with this feeling where you just crave more. Like you just, it happens a lot. I'm
It
like,
does happen a
I
ton.
wish I just want 10 more minutes of this person being happy, but like that's it. You don't
Or at
get
least show
that.
us a little bit more resolution. Like I'm not like someone who craves it a ton, but I am just kind of like I kind of look at the like production company like, was that supposed to make me feel good? 'Cause
Exactly.
it doesn't really.
So like on that regards, the fact that they did like give it a almost full episode and went through like the feel good part of their ending of the journey is like a good decision making on my end.
Yeah. With that being said, I do think Summertime Rendering is a very unique show. I
It
think there
is.
is value to take out of it, and I think there is a ton of things that you're not going to find elsewhere. I'm just disappointed that in that own journey of trying to do things, it failed to it failed to meet its own goals. I think,
Yeah.
and I think for me, as someone who likes to enjoy art and watch these things, that is the ultimate evaluation. For me, it's not about the goals of I think there's a ton of people who see action shonens or things like that needs to be the fastest cooling, coolly looking piece ever with, this composer and this, all this, like production value, great, even good story writing is great, whatever. But at the end of the day, when you're making art, there is an artist who is making it for themselves, even if it does go out to the world and all these things or whatever, and they lose their art, whatever. At the end of the day, I want you to meet your goal. And it feels like they failed to meet their own goal during all of this. And while there's so many cool ideas and ideas I will steal from my writing from this, quite frankly, that it's disappointing when they can't do the thing that I think is most important for artists, which is at least meeting their own goal, feeling like they earned it,
True.
But that's
Well,
enough
yeah.
about it.
Yeah, it is.
Summertime.
Like my general ideas are within that line too. I liked it overall, like I mentioned before. Started that as like started with the potential of becoming something great
Yes.
and ended with being something generic. It's always kind of sad to see a show evolving in that way. But it is what it is, and I would still like for like a good time like watching experience, I would still recommend it.
And
So,
I think part of that low key suffers from being a manga. As a manga expands an audience,
yeah,
you kind of get this pressure on you to do certain things.
you'd like almost to please everyone.
Yeah, you
in
have a larger,
sense, yeah.
especially Shonen Jump Plus is a large platform, like a very large platform to be on. And thankfully they're not doing weekly on Shonen Jump Plus, but they're doing it relatively on a schedule because you're on the magazine
yeah.
more or less. But like you're just it's a very different thing to have a source material that is then pressured.
Yep. Yeah, no,
Fortunately.
definitely.
For the next show we're talking about,
Yeah.
doesn't have a source material.
That's yeah. So my first watch for Jared this month was Psychopaths.
Just season 1.
Specifically, season 1. And if you haven't seen the previous episode and you're wondering why that is the case, we decided to do so because the original author or the main author working for this story on season 1, like not necessarily fully leaves the project, but only like deals with like scheduling and stuff, and does not contribute to writing on other seasons. He does come back for like the movie and stuff, but like the seasons he's not that involved, so the quality dips. But season one is really good, and especially like another like a sub tab to that is, since this is a anime original story, even though we haven't watched seasons from like other seasons from season one, like continuing on season one, um it's like the first season still wraps up as its own thing in a sense. Like
Yeah.
it does not necessarily leave you with like they cut the story mid like progression. I want to see more. Like they kind of wrap it up in a way that you can have more. You don't necessarily need more.
Yeah.
Like kind of approach. So
Yeah,
that's
the thing
a
with a
good
lot
thing.
of like anime originals and any
Yeah.
original media in general, especially when it comes to shows and like TV shows or limited series or anything like that, when you are not basing it off a source material and you don't have an established audience, the first time you make season one is like the fucking producers are at your throat being like, you better make this the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
And that's the only way you'll get a season two is you better sell it to like everyone. It better be the best thing. So they put their all into it, but they also know when they're finishing it, it's like, we may not come back next season.
Yeah.
You know, we need to do our best to make this something concise so that people have a positive feeling about it so that they want a second season, or like, you know, make it in a way where it's like, you know, it's concise and people have a positive feeling, but it still has enough opening at the ending to have a second season. And it's a very complicated dance and game to have. But it is the fate of anime originals and a lot of original stories to just put their all a lot in the first season just to make sure that they get that pull. Because, for example, something like Chainsaw Man, it doesn't got to worry about getting a second season because Chainsaw Man has a ginormous fan base just
like
from
the
manga.
moment they announced Chainsaw Man is going to have an anime, it was already like a ready to watch viewer base.
Yeah, and that's a big. I'll save this conversation a bit more for a bit of next episode, but I'll talk about it a bit later in this episode. But it's a large problem in the anime industry to have a heavy reliance on the manga industry to be your source of creation. But there's a reason for that.
But that being said, for the production side of things, for Psychopaths, so on the studio end of stuff or production, we got Production IG, and for some obscure reason that you don't know what Production IG does, they basically did all your favorite generic animes out there, like Attack on Titan, like Vinland Saga. I think that's a relatively popular Production IG involved project out there.
Hold on one sec.
I think they're also involved in.
Give me one sec.
You want me to hold there?
I think you might have something mixed up. I could be wrong.
No, I think they're.
Might be a subsidiary thing that you might be getting confused with. I believe you're getting.
Well, they're the producer in those, but still highly involved. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
For studio like Haikyuu would be
Haikyuu
one of
I think would
those.
be a better. So the thing is,
what do you call it?
Evangelion.
Yeah, Evangelion would be one, but like in this project,
I mean, they
they're
did
like,
Run with the Wind. We watched Run with the Wind.
They're like in this project, they're still producers / the studio, like producing studio as well.
Yeah, so I just don't want people to get confused. So Production IG is a large company, like an insanely large company. So people who, when they watch Attack on Titan, go, no, that's done by Mappa. Mappa is a subsidiary of Production IG. So it's important to note that because Production IG has hands in a lot of things, and so
they
it's
have like subdivision, like subsidiaries.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Companies under them or studios under them that does stuff.
Yeah, they do actual productions and stuff occasionally, or not occasionally, they do it quite a bit. But there are some larger studios where it's like they rely on their subsidiaries more, and it's a bit different division. So someone who might be seeing like Mappa, or like saying, "Oh, Mappa did this or Wit did that or whatever," it is because the thing is it's because of subsidiaries and whatnot, which is a large part of anime because a lot of your favorite anime is made by a subsidiary. Surprisingly.
Yep. So then, let's. Leaving the like subsidiary parts, the studio parts, I guess. Like good examples for that would be Haikyuu, Evangelion. Sorry for my mispronunciation or whatever. Kuroko, the basketball Kuroko plays. Oh, I didn't know this one. Kaiju no 8.
Yep.
Which is a seasonal right now, as well as Tengoku Daimakyo.
For one, I'll say is
What's
important.
the English name for that one?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. But for me, it's another thing you can just say is fucking Ghost in the Shell.
Well, yeah.
For things that people might Heavenly Delusion.
Delusion.
Yes,
yeah.
they did Heavenly Delusion. Yes,
And you like that? So
I love Heavenly
wanted
Delusion. I would love to
mention
watch it
yeah.
at some point for the show. But yeah,
But yeah, so they do a lot of your
Pretender.
popular,
yeah.
like everyone knows kind of shows, as well as some other stuff.
And it's an anime original from them, which is again for a company like this that has so many ways of succeeding, choosing
Yeah.
to do an anime original is inherently risky.
Going on, music is done by Yugo Kanno.
Oh, we should. The writer that we were talking about this whole time is Gen Urobuchi. That's the
Oh,
writer
yeah.
that we were talking about.
Exactly. So the author of this story is Gen Urobuchi, and then the music is done by Yugo Kanno, which like we looked it up. The work he does is usually popular. He has not an enormous amount of work like some other names we mentioned during this episode, but popular ones are like JoJo Bizarre Adventure. So he does JoJo's, and JoJo has a vast fan base. Like I know it's really popular. I don't know in US, but like in
Unfortunately, it is very big in the U.S.
okay, so like
I
'cause-
literally at my house, someone in my apartment has a Wi-Fi network called Speedwagon Foundation, and I
Okay.
want to bully them so bad.
okay, so yeah, so he did JoJo. He did have like volleyball anime called like 2.43 high school boys volleyball team or something like that.
It's not IQ, so
English
don't watch
name.
it.
Yeah, it's yeah. he did Ajin, which I know that one didn't necessarily had like a great response from the audience, but I feel like it's still a decent show. And Neo,
The game.
the game, and that did great in all aspects.
Well, the thing
that's a
is, he
big
did
thing.
Neo 1 and Neo 2, and for me, the thing that I understand is that Neo 3 is actually coming out pretty soon.
Yeah.
But from what I've gathered, not a single person on the earth has beaten Neo 2. Like, literally not a
Rough,
single
yeah.
human being I've met has been like, oh, I beat Neo 2. Has it been, oh, I dropped the game, it was too fucking hard.
It is as someone who enjoys Souls-like and like pretty difficult games, it is a punch in the gut.
Literally, like, I've talked to like a dozen people, and they've
Yeah.
all said I haven't beaten it. And I'm like, that is crazy.
Yeah.
I have no interest in that type of game exactly, but yeah.
Sound director, Yoshikazu Iwanami. So he did as well JoJo. He also did Kill la Kill, and the anime might not be the best. I like it. Has a great sound design, in my opinion. Sword Art Online, and much more. Actually, like when you search his name up, you get a lot of results for him. Like he did a bunch, and it shows because, in my opinion, Psychopath's sound
Oh,
design
the Dominators, dude.
is,
Oh my god. the
like,
Dominators.
phenomenal.
The Dominators sound so good.
everything, like even the smaller details when they're speaking through comms, or like when they're in different environments. Because I did watch a decent amount of this show specifically with my headphones, and like the amount of detail they've put in to like environmental like changes
Yeah.
and how it would sound in that environment in comparison to the other one, the dominators, different modes of dominators, like everything, like they went all out and it paid off for freaks like myself who pays crazy amount of attention.
I know, I
to
mean,
sound.
the thing is, you
So,
feel you even like you will feel it. Like the thing
Yeah.
is, like they really with a sci-fi space, like they really go all in on the setting to
Yeah.
build that out.
and it's like I said, and like they had a hard task too.
Yes,
'cause,
a very hard task.
like actually before delving onto that,
Yeah.
so the director is Naoyoshi Shiotani, who is like a production IG director, does a lot of storyboarding, in between animation stuff, keying stuff, and you can find it on. I've did watch a few episodes through Crunchyroll, and you can find it on Prime Video as well. But obviously, this will depend on your region and country and all that
I'll
stuff.
also say that this show was originally on Funimation.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm like 99% sure it was originally on Funimation.
So it's one of those animes that got...
it got kind of
Yeah.
compounded upon it. So yeah.
So the reason I was talking about is basically the setting and the environment within that setting for this anime. Like it's future, it's AI, it's AR, like VR, everything future you can imagine, in almost like a neo cyberpunk esque environment. And going into, like, just so I can word it better is like the description part of the show would be, it takes place at a point where human society, like, finally achieves its peak. Like, it's
Peak
we're not gonna get better than
society
this.
is at cinema.
Exactly. Like, this is amazing. There's no risks, no threats. Everything just exists within a harmony and all that stuff. And for a change, the government is good.
Yeah.
Or is it? At least it pretends to be like that for the first 46 seconds of the show. I did count that. So ultimately, the show tells us and kind of shows us that nothing is perfect within this said perfect environment and can be. The current state of the so-called ideal society comes with a lot of its own problems, and our main character, or at least one of our main character, I feel like she's the most focused one regardless, Akane Tsunemori, finds herself struggling straight up from the door with all these problems. And like I said, we start seeing that within the first 46 seconds as well. And it's like a journey of her coming in terms with how actually, for a lack of a better word,
bish,
like a fucked up world they're in. It's like I mentioned, in a neo-futuristic Japan setting. Like it's not called Japan, obviously, but like
they do say Japan eventually.
Do they?
They
Eventually?
do say
Okay.
Japan eventually. It's never it's like not confirmed until like episode like 20. It's insane.
Okay, so but like they're in a neo-futuristic Japan with robots and a bunch of futuristic cyberpunk stuff, and it plays itself more as a like crime plus sci-fi action anime. Not too hard on the action, still here and there.
It's definitely more crime. than
Exactly,
action.
more crime and sci-fi, but still a good one. And like I said, because of all these reasons, all that like sci-fi elements, it was a hard task on the sound director and the sound designer team. They delivered.
I mean, there's a creativity to it that you get to have fun, but it's also no reference point. you know?
Exactly. Yeah. But
Or not
Kinda-
no reference point. There's reference points in other pieces, but it's
Yeah.
not the same.
but kind of taking out this production part or section out of the way, I actually do want to straight go into your opinions about the show.
I want to spend a solid, at least couple minutes just glazing the setting, because the setting is so good. It is insane how well thought out it is. It is insane the colors, the ideas. Like I have this thing where, for those who don't know, I'm a writer. I write scripts. I do all
do
this thing.
you?
I love doing it. It's great. I care about it a lot. I write reviews. I do all these things. So for me,
check out his
keep
reviews.
I keep a little document. Yeah, lightsoffshowerthoughts.com. And I write reviews.
Shameless plug.
I write. I have a story that like I really care about and I want to write someday. And in my like little document I have about it, like I kind of constantly update this document when I get new ideas. I literally wrote, in like episode 1, there's like the room preference thing when Akane wakes up, and I was like, oh, that's such a cool look and how they do it. And I'm like, that's also something you'd really only do in an anime original. Which a ton of things that about Psycho-Pass, it's like, well, because we know we're working in the medium of anime from the jump. Like, it's not like, oh, we're making a manga, so this needs to look well for a manga, but it might get an anime later. Or, like, it's a light novel, and it might get like, they know it's an anime. They can make decisions informed based on that. Which, like, the room preferencing, I was like, I'm going to steal that. And then I wrote, like, a couple minutes later, Yeah, you're probably just going to be stealing a lot from Psychopaths because I think it's so cool how they do like it's got some great dystopian vibes to it, but it doesn't feel overly dystopian. Like it's not like a overbearing feeling. Like people have this positive feeling about the world, but it's a looming, clear like there's something wrong here, and it's like they have this balance between enforcers and inspectors, and I think the way that they have the police kind of set, it's just all so intricately thought out that it's like they spent so much time like just playing chess figuring out how is all of this stuff going to piece together before we tell the story. Like all of this happened before Akane existed as a character, or like, you know, I can't say that for sure, but it's like so much had to happen before Akane's story can go through this narrative because the setting is what makes the show so good. It's because all of these stories have this balance of technology and humanity in them, of what is technology enabling humanity to do and what parts of humanity is showing because of that. And it's such a powerful way of like, like again, there's so many sci-fi
in a sense,
stories.
like what part of humanity is being taken out of the equation because of this technology.
Sure, yeah. It's like I mean, to say that it's like incredibly like I'm not gonna pretend like Psychopaths is the first of its kind. Like let's not pretend that, but it does like, you know, it's heavily Minority Report, like heavily Minority Reports.
It does. It might not be the first of its kind, but it's, in my opinion, one of the best executors of this kind out there.
It is very concise. Like the thing is, its narrative in world is so big, but it's able to not overwhelm you and remain at giving you the details at concise. Like, you know, being very concise with it in the right moments. Like, it's not trying to overwhelm you. Like, there's so many times where it's like some big sci-fi person's like, okay, we're gonna spend the first 10 episodes just dumping lore and like dumping world rules on you. And it's like, oh my God, stop. Like, please, I want to know stuff about the story. Like, the timing and the execution is so well thought out. And it's just like, I'll just say one thing. Dominators are fucking cool.
They're
like Dominators
really cool.
are so fucking cool.
Yeah.
Like the way they look, they sound, like, you know, how they function in the narrative. Like they're such a phenomenal tool. Like I think it's also, they're used in such a great way with the story because it's like, with the first case, it's like Dominators, we see their insane power, and then Akane just shooting fucking Kogame in
That's
episode
so
1.
good.
And you're just like, damn, like these things like really have this like, I mean, it's a great, you know, Dominators are, you know, being especially called Dominators of how much control they have over our lives. Like, you know, how a form of technology can make decisions that no longer are part of our own, like, you know, world. Like it's something that is like, it feels like it's, I mean, this is maybe a bit stressful, like a holy artifact that is in the world that you don't even understand its, like, you know, how it works, but you don't question its capability. Like that is what a Dominator is in that world. Like the amount of times that people like cower in fear when you see the Dominator is like, you know, just indicative of that.
I love everything about Dominators. The value they bring to the story, the way it's being used, it's so good. It's like they've come up with a tool they can use to improve the story, and they fucking executed that in an amazing way. On top of that, there's also this balance between how they introduce, just like you mentioned, in almost every element we see. Even like I did mention, like Akane is like the main character, but you could argue Kogami is
It's
really close.
It's a dual
between the two.
protagonist.
Yeah.
It's a dual protagonist.
It's a dual protagonist show, and the cool part.
I
for
believe
me,
the word is deuteragonist. to
I'm
take
not
my inner
forcing-
English major out, I believe
No,
it's
I'm
deuteragonist.
I'm not.
No, you
forcing
should.
My
No, you
English
should.
pronunciation skills with
no.
that
I just,
word, like-
it just came to me is all.
Yeah, but like, it's such a great thing that they take that route, because Akane is like the officer, and then I guess you could say Kogami is like one of the
Enforcers.
Enforcers.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
almost like a handler in '86.
Okay.
It's a little bit like handler in '86.
But like, since that's the case, you have two mains that brings different perspectives and sides of that world in that sense, and like they kind of not exactly, but kind of like pivot towards each other here and there, which that's a nice dynamic too. And then they both go to like certain ways, and you see that exchange, you see that improvement, you see that change, which for me is an amazing way of telling us what different people throughout the story or members of that world society thinks and like perceives the ongoing perfect system. Like they've done a great job.
For me, a sign of truly good world building and world writing is you have your characters interact with their world and make you care about the world through having a character connected to a piece of the world. One thing that I thought would be dumb when I first watched it was crime coefficients. A lot of the times when you see a number in an anime, it's going to be, oh, this number is going to get the abuse beaten out of it. It's going to have inconsistencies. It's not going to make sense. But they actually use crime coefficients in a pretty, they use it enough that it's relevant, but they don't use it so much that it's like overwhelming. And it's like, oh, they're mentioning it every time and it's going to be inconsistent, blah, blah, blah. So it's like,
well, you literally encounter like a couple characters and that's it.
well, it's like for them, it's like, no, it's like because all the time you meet characters who it's like, oh, I'm worried my crime coefficient's going up. Or it's like, you see some like villain whose crime coefficient's high. They don't stress it. They don't focus on it. But it's like, it's a present thing. And they talk about a worse show than Psycho-Pass would have been like, well, by the way, here's what hues are. There's all these different colors. Here's the 10 different colors and their variations. Like, no, it like makes you, it realizes the audience is smart enough to be like, you know what? They know what a hue probably, like, what we're talking about, in terms of just, it's probably their mental and where they're at.
Yeah.
We don't need to say what every color is because, quite frankly, it's not important. We just need to say hue good, hue bad, and it's like this thing that people care about. That's all we as the audience need to know. And
it's almost like we, like, gain the experience and, like, more insight about it, the more Akane becomes, like, a better detective.
Yeah.
Like, it's us, in a sense, progressing with Akane's character, like obviously the more she gains.
And part of it is that the cases that they interact with are interacting with the world itself. Like you see, the first case is it's the online case, right?
Yeah.
And it's like the online case, or is it the?
No, it's the
it's the factory.
Dude kidnaps the no.
Oh. No, I'm not talking about the first case. The first episode 1 is the dude kidnapping, and then after that, it's the
spoilers.
I mean, it's episode 1.
Yeah,
but it's like
that 46 seconds I mentioned.
But like after that, I believe it's the facility. At least I remember the drone facility, and it's like that.
Yeah.
To at least bring up the drone facility. The drone facility is like, oh, this is telling you things about the world and the isolation that people feel, and like what people have priorities in this world. And then with the online space, it's like these are how people live their lives and the social isolation that occurs. And one thing to say about Psycho-Pass is that you may watch this from an incredibly Western perspective, but Psycho-Pass is insanely Japanese. Like, not even Asian, like Japanese. One thing to point out specifically is I will talk about this probably more on in the next show, but there's this idea of hyper-homogeneity, and especially in Japan. I was actually talking about this to someone else today, but in Japan is a country that for the longest time didn't have like a ton of foreigners come in because it's an island nation and you don't really have the means of getting there. So a lot of people are the same. And Japan, unfortunately, whether we like it or not, is a relatively conservative country with a lot of things. So it's like, even showing tattoos in public is like a, frowned upon. So there's this, perceived need to be homogenous, and the same as everyone else around you. You do the same things, you do the right things, you do it proper. And that is what the Psycho-Pass is. That is what someone's Psycho-Pass is you are following the rules and you better do it.
Because it's not like, oh, like this person is contemplating bad things. It's just like, is he getting outside of the norms we decided? And
it's not even like murder. It's like, are you thinking about doing something
like,
small?
are you getting stressed? Literally. Like, are you getting stressed? Well, fuck you then. Like, it's literally that to the extremes. Like, it's because it's the problem. It's such, I'd say, like a black and white kind of detection system. Like, there's no gray areas.
I think there is gray area.
No. Like, in the story, we get introduced to the gray areas, but they're not within the system's perception.
Sure.
Like, for system, everything that exists is black and white, as in, like, you can get kidnapped And obviously, when you get kidnapped, what happens? You get fucking stressed because someone's holding a knife on, like, to you, threatening with your life.
And
The system is like, nope, now you're a potential criminal as well because you go through that. It's like, that's such a black and gray way of addressing what problem is.
Yeah, the thing is, it's the idea that your experience is no longer homogenous with everyone else. Therefore, we need you to not be a part of society.
Yeah.
Another thing that is also incredibly, this is less Japanese, but it's also a bit more Asian per se, is the universal subconscious.
Yeah.
It is a very prevalent thing in this entire show, where it's like they talk about like area level stress, and like it's a very fascinating concept, and it appears in a ton of things. I recommend, if you haven't taken like a sociology class or haven't like studied sociology, it's very informative to a lot of art. And I would say, like, to truly appreciate Psycho-Pass, like a lot of sociological background can be put into it. Like the universal subconscious is a ginormous theme in this entire thing of what we as a society approve of as right or wrong. And I'm going to lean a bit more into spoilers now because there is a scene specifically I want to talk about, which is when the helmets start coming out and the helmet scene on the street.
Yeah.
Because if that is not a depiction of what the universal subconscious wants, which is like they simply cannot believe and perceive the concept of violence anymore, and they simply are bystanders, like that is the whole idea of like making your nation like incompetent for the sake of being able to be controlled, right? And that is low key, not to get like too controversial, like part of what like, you know, certain strategies are in many nations. It is to have this ability to have control over people by providing comfort, but also by providing expectation of how the world works, when in reality the world is a lot more complicated than we think
you're
it is.
basically making them into a flock to be heard.
Yes. And like one of the things that I think is also incredibly fascinating about the show is that is the Sybil system, but I don't want to get too much into it. But there's a ton of things that we see as technology. We believe that technology and humanity is a dichotomy and two things that are separate, when in reality, there is not a single piece of technology that has existed or will exist that is free from humanity and will not have humans' influence on it. Because
until octopuses evolve enough.
Yeah, if octopuses learn how to live past like a few years, like if they get that lifespan thing figured out and like, you know, figure out the not takoyaki, you know, part of their life, if they get that solved, maybe. But until that point, humanity is like, you know, the whole point is that the humanity's fingerprint, its bias, its ideas of what is right and wrong is everywhere. Like, you know, the whole idea of being criminally asymptomatic, you know, that is the whole point of technology can't judge something that is inherently human. You know, that's the part of the show that does so much that it really makes you excited to watch the next episode. Like there's very few shows that I'm as excited to watch because of discovery. Like usually it's like narrative, but I was so excited to discover new things while watching Psycho-Pass.
And the way they pull attention to different details, to different aspects of individual psychology, really pulls me in as well. And I feel like, for example, a really, really good depiction of that throughout the show is the previous art teacher in this high school, and then the daughter of an artist. Like they both commit similar crimes, because like the chick is basically copying, in a sense, what the art teacher used to do for his crimes. And even though, like, from a much more like surface level perspective, even though it looks like they're like the same, and that's why like when our detectives discovered these crime sites for the first time, they're like, oh, like, is the criminal back? Because his status is kind of unknown. The more we dive in, the more we learn, and we realize like, oh no. And in this case, Kogami is being used as the tool, or the person who lets us know why they're different and what's the thought behind what they're doing. That kind of stuff, like breakdown of their approach and reasons and psychology. And they use this word in the show itself as well, profiling these
Mm-hmm.
characters as if they're real cases and breaking down those profiles. Like it's such a well executed and, like you said, curiosity igniting way of doing things, thus results in us wanting to see more and watch more and spend more time within that world.
Yeah. For me, one thing that I will say is negative of the show, because we've been
Mm.
very positive, was that I do feel like one of the things that the show does really well in the early episodes is taking these cases and having very human elements to why
Hmm.
people's crime coefficients are going up, despite them being logical things. And maybe obviously they're going too far, sure, but these human experiences and whatnot kind of leading them down the wrong path. One thing I didn't really enjoy later on was that, and even talking about like the art teacher case, is that it feels a bit too like these people, everyone now from this point on is a serial killer. And like,
Yeah.
sure, it's like, there are certain darknesses of humanity that you can get into, but they don't really spend the time on those people to like really develop. It's more just like, you get their ideology, we understand they're fucking crazy, and like, they have this weird, look at the world. But at the same time, for me, I was kind of like, I kind of wish that like, not that they were like relatable or like, even understandable, but it just felt like you don't get to dig into them at all. It's just kind of like, this is the next game we're playing. Like, quite literally, even after the art.
Yeah.
For me, it felt a bit disconnected. And then it goes full Makishima train afterwards, or Makishima, whatever. He goes full of that afterwards.
Yeah.
And so for me, I got a bit disappointed with that part. Like, I thought the part with the hunter was I was like, I don't care about this guy at all. Like the thing is,
Yeah.
his idea of him being like a full cyborg, cool, great, being
Like,
full.
yeah, his, like, what they let us know about his perspective of things and how he approaches his life and all that stuff, or his flesh prison,
Mhm.
is really cool.
But then he just becomes a hunter, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I was like, don't think that.
And then he's not even a hunter. Like, let me get nitpicky here. The thing is, and they kind of acknowledge that in the last episode we see him as well. But like, the thing is, he's not even a hunter. Like they showcase him as a hunter, to us with his dogs
Hmm.
and like his outfit and his gun and everything, and he goes out there and he's like just traps
Hmm.
and not chases and just literally approaches
Hmm.
and like shoots. And I'm like, yeah, you're basically hitting a static target and calling yourself a hunter, where
Yeah.
like you've done nothing, which I know it's kind of irrelevant to the story, but I feel like that's because they're doing such a well execution of a lot of detailed work for this anime.
Yeah.
I feel like that was kind of a important part too, because until where he experiences, I guess, Kogami in a sense, because for him that's an experience, he's not a hunter. um and I feel like that should have been played out a little bit better if they wanted it to make more interesting.
Yeah,
But
he
yeah.
he has the weakest identity because his
Yeah.
identity is a bit conflicting with itself, or at least not cohesive. Um, One thing I will say, to like, this is probably the longest I've talked about a show without talking about the characters. To now start talking about the characters, I do enjoy Akane and Kogami's dynamic. I think that while Kogami is a bit too forward for me at moments, and I think Akane is a bit too pure for this world until she's not. Especially Akane. I think one thing I do dislike about Akane is her moments of growth are very aggressive and fast, and I don't
I
think.
like that actually,
Uh,
because
I
I feel
really
like
dislike that. Okay.
because I feel like the problem is, and this is gonna be maybe a weird analogy, but like, you know how like it's gonna be like water painting, like when you dip your brush into a clear water, like it becomes muddy much easier. But if it's already dark, like that's not gonna become, like the shade is not gonna change that easy. Like
No,
I feel like for Akana that's the case. Like,
no, but for me, my problem with her is that she doesn't struggle after she learns it. Like, my biggest problem is less with after episode 12, but
mhm,
after um I mean, I'm gonna
Literally the
say
last,
I'm
like,
gonna
4 or
say
5
we're
episodes,
if I didn't say we're in the spoiler section, we are in the spoiler section.
Yeah.
It is when Kagami betrays her, quote unquote, and now she's like, I'm a full-hearted detective now, and I'm like, Bish, when did you become this hardened detective that knows everything? Like for me, it's like
Yeah.
that didn't feel like. Again, I wanted to see her. I don't know. It didn't feel earned. I think a lot of Akane overly relied on Kagami as a character, and I think that she made a lot of reckless decisions that I think were fine to make as reckless decisions, but at the same time, then when she makes incredibly calculated decisions, I'm like, that's not who you've been this entire fucking show. You've been someone who's been reckless this whole. Like, there's so many things that I think
I feel like they're playing more towards like not necessarily because I feel like it's not necessarily she was not like that in terms of her personality or skills, but it was just she was lacking the decisiveness and like directness in her approach, and she kind of becomes over that. But she, because as you saw too, like the most upcoming thing they keep telling about her is that the fact that she got all the skills there is to have, thus got accepted from all the
no, no, no.
departments
The thing is, you can't just be like, oh, but this person's incredibly talented as they continue to make not great decisions on during these cases.
Yeah.
Like, I refuse to be like, just because they haven't shown that she's capable and now they give her a moment to be capable, she suddenly becomes capable. I'm like, no, you need to fucking earn that shit for me. Like, for me, the fact that she turns to be so capable during that chase with Kagami, like chasing down Kakame, I'm just like, bro, I get it. She has resolve. That's one thing. It's one thing. You can have her show resolve. Do not try to lie to me that she's been this capable this entire time just because she got a high score, or at least show hints of that before then. Because, like, Akane as a character has had resolve throughout the entire show.
Yeah.
Like, that's her thing. But she has not shown her capability in the cases. She has relied on Kagame, and that is something that I despise a lot, is that she, as a female character, is relying on the male, gritty character who's willing to get his hands dirty until she suddenly is like, know what? Because he betrayed me, I'm now not only resolved, I have the capabilities. Not how it works. And that is something I strongly disagree with. I think Akane, as a character, was overly reliant on Kagame and then suddenly gets 4 episodes where she needs to be the fucking hero. And for some reason is just like able to be cold, calculated, and do all that shit. And like for me, it's like it was not built to do that properly. Like if you wanted to do that, have Akane have those moments of talent. Because she does not actually show her talent like most of the show. She shows her resolve, but rarely her talent.
Okay, I see what you mean. Like, I'm kind of running through the episodes in my head again while thinking about
It's like
that.
one of her biggest achievements was getting Makishima, like his face. And that's a moment of resolve by going to relive her past
that
of her
is a
friend.
resolve, yeah, I
Yeah, it's a
guess.
result. It's not her talent though. And that is something where it's like, again, like she goes to visit the fucking the guy once, but it's not like that immediately starts improving her profiling and stuff like that or anything. Like it's a lack of showing ability that is what frustrates me, because it's just like she's been this like reliant person on Kagami this whole time.
Yeah, I really did take that as like, again though, and could, like, they could have done this better. I agree on that part. The reason it didn't disturb me as much is purely because of the fact that they kept mentioning how actually talented she is, and she actually lacks the confidence. And we've seen, and again, this, like I'm saying, like, this could have been executed better, and I'm not saying this is the best way of letting us know that she is actually a capable person, because like action takes more space in a story, way more than just something being said. Obviously in real life as well, that's the case. Like actions are always louder than words, but still, like, from her friends, from her other peers, from other detectives kind of acknowledging her throughout the season and the episodes, like all that stuff, in a sense we do know that she is capable, but she lacks self-confidence, like literally quoted in, like, in the show by her friends
But
as well.
the
And
thing
she
is,
overcomes that confidence issue because now there is not that line of safety where she can choose to lean with, because that's basically what Kogami was for her. Like, she didn't need to throw her indecisiveness away, because why would she even need when there was Kogami, who was who is an ex detective that did her exact job, and on top of now an enforcer who has a knack for everything. And like, because they mentioned that too, like, oh, so this subordinate of yours is basically a previous you, and she's like, yeah, I think he kind of is. So that kind of stuff shows me she is less lacking in terms of skill department and more lacking in terms of self worthiness and confidence, and she gains that.
But then show that struggle, because her struggle doing
sure.
that,
The
it is just
struggle,
like, it's just like, oh, I don't know what to do. Oh, Kagami solved it. By the way, fine. It's
Yeah.
because you know what's even worse about that is that Kagami takes away the scenes. Like, Gino is a useless character in the entire show. Gino does literally nothing. He has. I like Gino as a character. He has a great emotional arc. He does nothing. He's not done a single thing in the show other than kill his dad.
Yeah.
Which is like, it's insane. It is insane to me that you do your character this dirty like that. Like, I think Gino as a character needs to be seen as at least somewhat capable. He's just someone who takes on a bunch of burdens, which, again, respectable in its own regard. But at the same time, it's like,
he
guys,
could have been detailed much better.
Kagami has to solve everything, which I despise. I despise in a
Yeah.
crime show when there is one person who can solve everything
the
and
only
doesn't.
detective,
Like,
yeah.
for me, it's like, it's one thing if he can solve everything, but then it's like,
Needs assistant in every other aspect.
yeah, but it's just like, he is a bit too perfect, and it's just like, oh, but the only thing is, like, you can just shoot him whenever you want. Like, that's his big downside is he's an enforcer, and I don't know. For me, Kagami, or like he's too obsessed over Makishima, that's one thing, but like,
Which is justifiably.
yeah, but for me, it's just like, I despise how much Kagami can take over the narrative at any given moment during the show, because I'm like, you have these characters, you have this world. Let them do something.
Yeah.
Do not let the narrative be stolen from you.
I agree. And that is why I kind of enjoy the last 4 episodes when like Akane starts taking over, because I'm like, fuck yeah, like now we're in for a run, like.
But I think the last 4 episodes is too short of a run. It's a bit too short.
No, it is short. Like
Yeah.
on that, like in terms of lengthiness of, like, this should have, first of all, like you said, we have reasons in our heads that it turned to that, but the showcase of it was not, like, could have been done much better. And then how long of that new Akane kind of taking the lead we saw was not enough. Like,
I will say, it's not even length. Look at 86. Think about what 86 does in his last 4 episodes and compare that to Psycho-Pass. And it's like insane how much is done in 86.
Yeah.
Like, it's insane how much they do in 86's last 4 episodes. And it's like, not that Psycho-Pass 4 episodes are horrible. They're not. It's just like, the narrative pushes itself into a corner where these 4 episodes need to be more than they are, and they're kind of action pieces. And they're kind of like a bit of added storytelling about the world. And
I also, though, because since we did both mention that previous to us recording this episode, I feel like that's also kind of because midway through the show you have like a slight pullback in terms of like pacing, as if like it kind of gives you the doubt of like, oh, is it gonna like start declining in terms of quality and stuff?
Well, episode 15 in the helmets is just like a kaboom. This is happening now.
Yeah.
Everything else in the story is irrelevant. Everything else is irrelevant. This is happening, and
So that kind of throws you off.
yeah, I think it was a relatively poor decision. I don't think the helmets themselves are a poor decision, but I think of how much it overtakes the story and how much it overly focuses on Makishima, who, to be fair, as a villain, I think he's a pretty good villain, all things considered.
Yeah.
I think he delves into the realm of a bit of a pseudo-intellectualism, where it's like he's doing things that are inherently terrible, but it's like, oh, but I'm resetting the world, and like, but it's have you seen the meme of it's like, oh, like, I'm, criticizing society, and it's like that guy from The Hole, yet you participate in society. Makishima doesn't do that all the time, but he plays in that realm sometimes, where it's like, okay, yeah, we get it, dude, society's bad, but there's certain things you do have, like, his criticisms of the Sybil system and certain things of Psycho-Pass makes sense. Him trying to do some other things and, like, empower fucking serial killers, very different, so.
Yeah, I feel like that is a weird approach on his side, on his end, I guess. And then for the Helmets part, it kind of takes over, like you mentioned, the pacing of the story. Like I'd say it's not so much so that like him plotting that and like taking an action in that sense is being off, but it's more so that we go from 0 to 100 for Makishima too quick. It's literally a 0 to 100.
Typically, what you would see in a show like this that I think that they could have done better is Makishima is gaining aspects to allow him to build the helmet or do something and be like, oh, what's he doing? What's
Like
he playing?
you're snowballing.
Yeah, or we see like his
boom.
intention a bit more, but rather we just see a big thing is that we just see traces of Makishima, and he's like, that man, he's there, he's in the shadow, but like we don't see Makishima do things or have his philosophy. We just go know like, oh, he's empowering people to be their true self or whatever and have this true freedom, which again is a bit. I think there's certain elements that are correct in wanting to be free from the Sybil system, but I think there's ways of that Makishima as a villain could have been done more elegantly, where it's like he enables people and it's more natural to them. Like he's quite literally just like giving people just like weapons, more or less. And I'm just like, okay, it's one thing if you're like enabling people or doing things, but he's just like letting people become murderers. And I'm like, I know he's supposed to be the villain, but sometimes I'm just like, he's attempting to seem righteous in his mind. And for me, sometimes I'm just like, bro, if you would have this conflict with yourself, because he's a smart character, like obviously, he's a smart character. He's self-aware too, but he's not so self-aware that he's gonna undo his own writing. Basically, like his writing, like he's aware that he's not a good guy, but he's also not. He's also like, I'm gonna refuse to know that some of my writing is a little bit of contradictory in there.
And I feel like that's done by Psycho-Pass's writer more so for showing like, yes, he is someone who wants to improve the society or like, you know, in a sense break the cage and like set them free of their shackles in a sense. But he's also a sociopath. He's a smart dude who like in his head wants a good like improvement for society's existence, but he's also like enabling those people because he just is like kind of, hey, like I'm curious, like how would you do this, and just fucking goes on his way.
But I think again, you don't see his motives play in any of this, and you don't really see his character play in any of this. It's just kind of like for the longest time, Makishima is an idea, not a person. And how much he overtakes the narrative, I wish he was a bit more of a person. The idea of him being a person and this idea you chase can function. See Cowboy Bebop. This show is very Cowboy Bebop in a lot of moments where you're chasing this idea, this thing you fear, whatever, blah, blah, blah. You need to then exaggerate certain things about him a bit more because, quite frankly, Makishima is not as exaggerated as he would need to be as something you fear, but not as human as something that you would need to be as a human villain. He plays in this awkward middle realm that is kind of very common in sci-fi writing, that is like, not willing to commit to either end of the spectrum because of reasons that would be me criticizing writers everywhere for about 20 minutes. That said, another thing that I think is a large piece of writing, which is the other large negative force in the show, is the Sybil system. And again, another thing that's a problem is that the pacing of this show would make you think that, oh, the Sybil system thing should be revealed a little earlier. Like, or at least problems in it. Like, oh, hey, the Sybil system is like, I like the main problem in it is the whole, like, what basically it's like, Makishima being, criminally asymptomatic, and then it's with the helmets, right? And I feel like having hints of the Sybil system's imperfection, like, I guess part of it is they want the Sybil system to seem incredibly perfect and only have some flaw, like one flaw, basically. But for me,
like, just so I get it more clear, when you mean like flaw, is it like, as in thing like bugs within the system?
Showing that the Sybil system is not serving, like, because like in the cases you could say sure the Sybil system isn't serving these people because these people could get help and not get shot, but like showing cases that the Sybil system is like, like for example they do this thing with like with the artist that Kunizoka, I believe, the woman in the Movement Enforcer meets in the show, and it's like they're unauthorized artists. And I'm like, cool. Show that. They just say that they're unauthorized artists. Show us what it is like for the Sybil system to take away the arts, to take away people's ability to express themselves. Show the corners of society that the Sybil system casts a shadow on now that it is the only light.
So it's not very much that you're saying like show us the system's problems, as in like the machine's problems, but like the stuff that machine takes from humanity, like
Yeah. If the Sybil
yeah.
system serves 99.9% of humanity, you need to show us the
what's
0.01.
taken away from humans for that trade.
Yeah, because there is a trade. The Sybil system is a trade-off.
Yeah,
That is the
exactly.
whole thing. It is. We're quote unquote guaranteeing you peace for the sake of certain freedoms that you
Yep,
have, and certain decision making, certain ideas, and certain, uncertainty. A large thing that is taken away by the Sybil system is uncertainty.
Which I felt bad, bro, when they said unauthorized musicians. Because like being someone who's like heavily,
You're unemployed.
yeah, like being someone exactly being someone who's heavily involved with music and sound, I was like, dang, like I was fucked if the civil system was happening right now, like you're not authorized. God damn it, like that's fucked up. But that was fucked up for me because it happened to be a personal topic for me, as in it being about music, but I totally
Yeah,
agree. They
like-
should have shown that aspect much more.
For me, it's like even when you think about like the hacker's case, show why this hacker's life is fucking depressing and sad.
Other
And,
than
like,
him being outside of Japan.
Yeah, despite him being a loser.
Yeah.
But like do that. Like I think do more to show why the Sybil system isn't serving is not successful.
Yeah.
It's successful in a lot of ways, but it's actually not successful, and why Makishima is right, as opposed to it being like. I definitely have said we're in the spoiler section before, but like, surprise, a bunch of fucking serial killers and psychopaths and sociopaths are actually the Sybil system controlling the world, which I'm kind of fine with that reveal. But for me, one of the things that I was disappointed by was that it kind of justifies why the flaws exist in the Sybil system. And I'm kind of like, I'm fine with that. I'd rather it be like the reason why the flaws in the Sybil system exist is that there's no system that would ever work. Like,
Yeah.
no system would ever work for the world like that. And I think that should be more of the narrative rather than just like, oh, well, it's kind of run by a bunch of people who have this overly perfection and ginormous ego type thing. And it just feels, the Sybil system just feels disappointing, I wasn't happy with it. I wasn't like saying like it was horrible. I was just kind of like,
Could have been done better. Yeah.
I was like, I wasn't blown away by the reveal. I mean, I will say Kagari dying, I was like,
That's what I was gonna say. For me, it was more so what Sybil systems been made out of in a sense, but it's Kagari. Dude, Kagari died, and I'm like, come on.
no, bro, they said, let's split up. I was like, it was good seeing you, dude.
They said let's split up and send Kagari to the bottom section.
Yeah, they were like, Makishima, we have to be two of them. And I was like, okay.
Which is, anyways, that's its whole thing. I was from the get go. I was like, you chase Makishima and you take Akane with you, which, like, she's not, like, the thing is, Makishima is like heavily capable in terms of hand-to-hand combat, and Kogami is on the same boat. We don't see Akami's physical combat prowess in any point. We know she's athletically capable, but
Do
we
we?
don't know if she is capable of fighting a fucking 6-foot dude hand to hand, which we see she isn't. But I'm like, why would you even take her from the get go? Like, just send her with.
I mean, the whole reason why I think they send her narratively is like, oh, you have to make sure we send Kagami with an inspector.
Yeah, but like Kagari is a, what do you say,
Enforcer.
like enforcer too. It's it's two enforcers and one detective regardless. So
I guess the idea is that Kagami, I mean, I'm overly justifying, but Kagami is more reckless than Kagari.
yeah, but they
No,
killed
no,
my
yeah, I
boy
think again,
Kagari.
I think
was
it's
like, Kagari could stay alive.
they sent Kagari to his death because of how they wrote it. It was very
Yeah.
clear that it was a writing thing, that it was like, we need to kill him to make people sad. And it's like, okay, got it. Cool. They have a cool shot with like, the woman, like the
Yeah,
but at the end of the day, it's
what's
like-
her name? Kase,
whatever,
Joshu
the
Kase,
chief, whatever her
the
name
chief.
is.
Yeah,
At
exactly.
the end of the day, I was just kind of like, I felt sad, but at the same time, it's like, you see it from like literally like miles away. Like even low key with how Kagari is written as a character, Like the second they have the conversation in the the cafeteria for the first
Yeah.
time, I was like, he's dying. Low key, I was like, he's dying because
Yeah.
of just how he's positioned. Because a lot of the other enforcers just aren't important. Like Gino's dad is cool and all that, but doesn't do anything.
His vibe though.
He's a great vibe, but doesn't do anything.
I actually, well, when he fucking grabs Gino, when he's like butchering Akane for like a mistake she did, and he's like, "Okay, Kido, like that's actually enough," and like kind of throws him away. I was like, "Fuck yeah!" Like,
I don't know. I think I am disappointed with the enforcers as characters in general. I think they are all passengers to the Kagami train, and I think that is a better show. Again, like to reference 86, Shin is the driver, but the other people with him, the other 86, are not passengers. They're people who have their own ability to drive.
yeah,
They are going along with him because they choose to, but these are not passive characters who are incapable. They're capable of doing many great things and have many different things they want to do with their lives.
for sure. Yeah,
And I think that is something that is different with the enforcers in Psychopaths, is they are much more, we are not able to do things without Kagami. Kagami needs to solve
Yeah.
the problem.
but I will also give like that to the author in the sense that like 86 is written by an author and not a manga author but a novelist at that. So I don't get super surprised when it's like better in terms of writing. Don't get me wrong.
I think that there's no excuse. Any writing can be good. And it's like, it might be harder, but I think at the end of the day, as a writer, you need to stand on business no matter what.
Yes, but I'm saying like probably a novelist is more capable, not capable, but like they have more room for leaning into like heavy detailed writing than like someone writing something for just the screen. I'm not belittling anyone, but I'm saying in terms of reasons to have to focus more on the writing in comparison.
I mean, Neon
Like,
Genesis Evangelion exists, but go on.
yes, and there's going to be outliers for everything. Like there are examples that are
my
not
point
the
is that
case,
you
but
can do it. It's something that
That's
you can
literally-
do.
that's literally why I said there are going to be like did examples of it. I'm just saying like generally speaking, like specifically in Psychopath's case as well, you see so many good things in regards to it that some other worse parts kind of gives me that feeling like they had a less of an inclination to do the perfect writing in comparison to a novelist is literally what I'm saying. Like,
It's, to me, that's cowardice. To me, it's like you should be greedy and you should be willing to make every single, like, seeing Kagami as a character. Again, he's not horrible, but he
Yeah.
overruns the story.
Kogami, yeah.
He just overruns the story. It's like there's this
But no,
beautiful,
there's
amazing
certainly
world.
There's certainly too much focus on him and too little focus on other
Which is a
enforcers.
crutch. It is a crutch as a
it
writer
is.
that they choose to
And
do
that's
this.
why at some point, because the point that I mentioned as feeling slow is like when you switch to other characters, they are not coming off as like lively and like intriguing as some other moments in the show. But literally I am giving the benefit of the doubt. Like,
I mean, okay, look at Cowboy Bebop, for example.
yeah.
Other characters in Bebop can do things that aren't Spike. Spike
Yeah.
is the driver, but
Yeah.
everyone else can do stuff. Jet can do stuff. Holy shit, why am I forgetting? Faye can do stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Like, even Ein can do stuff sometimes. like the thing is, like, you have to have
That sometimes
characters.
was personal.
Like, you have to have characters that are able to be their own person when you have such a great world you want to explore.
Yeah.
Because when you have it only explorable by one perspective, you will limit your ability to use that world for its benefits.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm going to talk about Trails for a bit here. Trails, the reason why Trails is incredible is because the protagonists are great at navigating the world, but you get so sucked in by the side characters interacting with their world as well. Like, it's like seeing how they suffer from their local government, or seeing, like, how their passion is being impeded on by, like, the war that's going on at the time. Like, there are so many ways that you see that these characters are being, that are interacting with their world, that it's like, yes, this is what I want to see. I want to see characters interacting with the world, because that's how I will hold value to the world, because the way that you hold value to the world is not through, oh, that looks cool or that's great. It's because there is a human element to it that is being reflected through a character. And, like, that is something that Psycho Pass fails to do on a large scale. Not on, like, they do it in moments, but on a large scale.
No, like, it lacks that element in a lot of places. I do agree. Like I said, I'm not saying that it's not lacking, because that's an objective review of the product at hand. I'm just saying, in regards to many other shows we've experienced through this podcast, I can see why in their head they would have more leeway why that's the case. Because there's a bunch of other shows, unlike 86, that does not do anything right, including this. That's the only thing I was mentioning.
My problem is I can tell they're capable. I just think they were clocking it in a bit with the...
Well, yes, but we also don't know stuff like why the author left too. Like,
no, sure.
Like,
I'm sure that with
like,
an anime original, there's politics. There's a lot more politics than
so
creating your average thing. But for me, I just...
it is sad. It is. I also do wish the parts that are not as good as the other parts, I wish they were all, like, on equal grounds.
I wish Psycho Pass was a perfect recommendation.
Exactly.
It's not because of issues with later seasons, which I guess we can just say that, yeah, the writer not being on season 2 and 3 affects the quality greatly, and, there's...
Yeah.
I'm sure you can go into it in more detail, but the thing is that just inherently, when you have a show like this that, again, it's a show that is choosing to interact with its characters as a way of navigating through the world. There are shows that don't do that, and, those are great shows in their own right, but majority of shows will choose to use characters to navigate the world as, like, the primary thing.
Yeah.
And, like, I think a good example is, like, Mushishi is a show that, have you seen Mushishi?
I don't think I have.
Mushishi is a show that actually uses a lot more folklore and, like, ideas from that to navigate the world more. One could argue, like, To Your Eternity is more character focused, but it's kind of similar to To Your Eternity, like, a little.
Okay.
Where it has ideas that are kind of stretched out further, and that's how you navigate the world. But a lot more folklore in Mushishi. You can choose to have a world that you navigate without characters and still be a great show. That said, a lot of shows default to it, and then they don't commit to it. And I think that is something that Psycho Pass... Again, these characters aren't terrible. They're not terrible characters. I don't dislike any of them.
I feel like, for me, there are, like, interesting elements to them, but it's not explored. That's the problem.
You have the thing is, again, it's all about meeting your goals. You have such a rich world.
Yeah.
You need to have the characters that can meet that level and be able to explore that world for us, because there's so much that we are missing out in this world because the characters are not given the time or given the resources to truly explore it. And I think for me, that is the reason why it's like, I easily would recommend Psycho Pass to anyone. I would say I prefer Psycho Pass over Summertime Rendering, like, by a mile. But if, like, in my rating system, do I rate it above a 9? Is like, I would debate that for a long time, because I'm just like, as someone whose biases are very character heavy, the fact that the characters aren't able to deliver is on, like, at least on the level that I would love. Like, it's like able to deliver at a baseline, but not at the level I would like. It makes it a very difficult thing to talk about, because the world is a 10 out of 10, not even questioning that.
Yeah.
But the ability to navigate it is not.
Yeah, well, in terms of, by the way, rating it a 9, like, I wouldn't. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I am saying, like, I give them benefit of the doubt or whatever, or, like, cutting them, I guess, a slack in regards to other elements behind and in front of the production, but I wouldn't give it a 9 if I was using a scoring system, for various reasons, but it is still a show that I would recommend. Like, it's still, for shows within this genre / realm, I'd say it is still a really well executed show that I feel like everyone should at least watch season 1 and experience it for themselves, especially if you're interested in criminal stuff. So I'd say like I might have some bias towards it because I'm someone who's heavily interested in criminology and psychology, not in any professional setting or whatever, but just like a hobby, like like a regular Joe kind of hobby. But like it's intriguing to me, and Psychopaths gives that like getting into the crime and like seeing these different serial killers and what's their thought process, what are they getting at, and ultimately going to Makishima and being like, okay, why is Makishima trying to like, I guess, aid these criminals, and all that type of thing like that. From a psychological aspect, how they show us or the amount of detail they give us is satisfying to me, which interests me.
I will say, I think they actually don't do the psychology part very well. I think that's actually one of their weakest points. I think the psychology of the villains and the worlds they interact with is like not terrible, but it's like I compare that again. I'm gonna say I compare it to Trails, and like Trails is kind of my end all be all. It's like, is your character writing up to snuff? Is your like even like especially for villains, like Trails villains are like usually Trails villains are like very like they test the characters in a way that is I think a lot more interesting. And it's just like for me, it's like I think that Psychopaths kind of falls flat on that.
Yeah, when I meant psychology, I didn't necessarily mean it through actions and stuff, but I like for me, it's like when certain characters mention certain stuff in regards of them being tested through actions and stuff like that, and us seeing their response. Like it's more so like, for example, the quotes and authors they keep referencing, like that kind of stuff, especially if you're someone who
I think it's a bit too much. I think it's a little pretentious the amount they say
it is in certain aspects it is excessive, but then which character references which author, what kind of like books they like, because even within the, what do you say, like umbrella, under the umbrella of the same author, they have different books and different book addresses, different things. So like even within that, like stuff that they tell us gives us an understanding of certain characters' psychology and not necessarily us seeing like a action. And I totally understand from a storytelling point they shouldn't be leaning to people getting cues and understanding stuff off of like references and shit. To be honest, it's not by any means an ideal way of doing things.
One could argue it's not good writing.
Exactly. But as a person who got the references and is interested in what that brings, I had fun. But again, that's merely my take on it. That being said, again, I wouldn't give it a 9. I would still recommend this show, at least season 1. And I am intrigued to try other seasons, regardless of the author being in there, just for my own
I hate
self-interest.
I despise when an original author is removed from a
Drop it, yeah.
I know it's just pure disgust that happened in one of those rooms. It's disgusting human behavior that must have happened.
Probably, like...
No, there's no, like, what's the reason, right? What would be the reason? Like, if it was a personal reason, very different, right? If they need to step back from the project, but I'm sure that's not why.
No, probably more than like 99.9%. That's probably not why he left. So I'm just kind of curious because of the ending.
Low-key, the ending's kind of not good.
Yeah, like it's not good, but it's... Look, I enjoyed the fact that like we're kind of doing like almost like a loop thing where like the new detective literally follows what Akane did, like that kind of small gimmicky action they did there.
If Gino was given more time to shine in this season, I would think it's cooler. I think it's less cool when Gino has done literally nothing and now is like at this level 1 starting point.
That is true. Yeah.
I think for me, the thing that it was like, I would say it's ballsy from them because they, as opposed, like I said, this is an ending that like quote unquote is satisfying and confined. It is to some extent, in comparison to like fucking ending a season and being like, yeah, there's obviously a season 2 coming. It's not that, but
Yeah.
it is a bit ballsier in saying, hey, you better give us a season 2 because we are going to leave a lot more things open.
Yeah.
Than your average anime original would. Like I think we'll watch one next show that very much wraps it up. That it could literally end there and you wouldn't question it.
That is true.
Like that it does reveal to it's like no, we definitely have more. We definitely
Yeah,
have more.
like and that's why I said like it was an ending in the middle where like if this did not have, and I guess the way we approached it, it doesn't technically. If this show didn't have other seasons, you wouldn't necessarily be like they just like hung up on us midway. Like you wouldn't feel that, but you certainly feel like okay, like I guess they're going for a season 2. Let's see what's going to happen. That again, I'll try. I'm not saying I'll be able to watch, but I am intrigued.
Don't hurt yourself. Don't hurt
Yeah.
yourself, man.
I'm intrigued in what they tried, I guess, or in a sense, I guess, how much they failed. Which it's probably a lot, but again, it's still a recommendation. Season 1 is a recommendation.
If you are a writer,
Yeah.
Psychopaths is a very good watch. There is so many things you can take away from the show that I think it is incredibly impactful. Like even if you're like, there is a clear directed, like art directed, aesthetic directed, like idea that is being formed that is special. Does it deliver on that fully? Not exactly, but whenever like it's like a kind of like Summertime, but even better than Summertime that we were talking about is like when you see someone who's cooking something, you should pay attention to it even if it's not executed perfectly because you should be inspired by that. And then if you are going to make something, try to do your best to be inspired and not make the mistakes they made.
That is actually a really good
I think that is why it is an important watch because it is doing something very special even if imperfect.
It is that's actually a really really good thing you said. It is. The biggest difference is like I'll point out too. That one, I don't feel that starting with the potential of being great and wrapping it up generic thing from Psychopaths like I did from Summertime
No,
Render.
it's nothing like
And
that.
then, like you said, it certainly motivates you, like in terms of sparks your creativeness, because there are certain aspects to it. Like it's a inspirational piece in a sense.
Yeah, Loki, my ego's like, man, I would do this better.
Oh no, and again, like
Because it's just so good. I'm just like, man, you just need to do this couple things, man.
no, and I totally see that as like because and again, everyone draws inspiration from somewhere different, but that being your inspiration is still a great thing that a show manages to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the fact that it's inspiring something is special. I think at the end of the day,
Exactly.
even if it's imperfect and not compelling me as a story, compelling me as an idea artistically is something. It's something
Yeah.
is a feat to say the least.
And the sound design. I have to say it one more time.
It's a complete idea. It's a complete idea that is not perfect as a whole product. Is all it is.
They were solid. Like they know what they wanted to do is the thing.
Yeah.
And a lot of shows don't have that. So that being said, I feel like that's kind of with the pros and cons and everything that kind of wraps up our standing. So next up, which is our last minute schedule change, because we couldn't do literally 60 plus episodes
We
a
are
single month.
actively planning our shows around like about like a 50 to 60.
Exactly.
Like not doing those episode episode limits.
It is Girl Who Leapt Through Time, which is an anime movie.
Yeah. It's if you're in the I only watch Ghibli movies and sometimes Cowboy Bebop space, you're probably actually familiar with this. I will say this movie does runs occasionally in like American theaters and like the theaters around the world. It is, I'm gonna go through this relatively quickly. It's produced by Madhouse and it's based on a novel from 1967. That novel has had recreations here and there. Novels written by Yasutaka Tsutsui. He wrote Paprika, which, if you know what Paprika is, it was also that book was adapted by Satoshi Kon, one of the greatest, if not, I'm gonna say it, the greatest anime directors that has ever existed. Rest in peace. He has unfortunately passed away. But he, did Perfect Blue. He did Paprika. He did Tokyo Godfathers. An incredible talent. The sound director was Yoshihiro Akase. There's literally nothing other than they came from a production company called, or like a sound or whatever company called Dax Productions. There was literally nothing from them. Music was done by Kiyoshi Yoshida, who did Kaiba, and not much else. But the most important thing is that the director was Mamoru Hosoda, who has done quite a bit of anime movies. He technically did a One Piece movie before this, but this is more or less his directorial debut.
It's not Red though, right? Is it Red?
What do you mean?
Like One Piece Red?
I don't remember what One Piece movie he did.
Okay.
But he did a One Piece movie. When you do a One Piece, you don't have control. You're not in control. So people treat this like his directorial debut. And Girl Who Leapt Through Time was pretty popular, did very well. He's done other things like Summer Wars. He did, I believe, Wolf Children was after. I think it was Wolf Children, then like Summer Wars, and then Boy and the Beast, then Belle, and then he has a movie coming out called Scarlet. I believe I got that right. I'm sure Editor Me will hate that I said all of them, but and like have to show all of them. But he's a very established director. He's considered one of the greats, and this is like one of his starting points. And yeah, like I said, it's not easiest to find per se, as like, online or whatever, but legitimately it does show up in theaters on occasions and does its runs because it's kind of in that same time period and realm where anime movies were being watched more. It's like kind of like late era of Ghibli and like early like anime movies were still popular that weren't just extensions of shonen shows. And weren't just every single now popular most selling movie of all time is just a shonen show's next arc or a shonen really anime filler,
disturbed by that fact.
Just it's just something that some people might even go to see a shonen movie that is based off of like the next 10 chapters of an arc or whatever, how many chapters of an arc, but not watch the original because they're watching it solely because of marketing. This was in the era before that, before that kind of era of movie making in anime.
So you're saying, anyways, okay.
Lived in a whole different world.
Yeah.
And yeah, The Girl Who Leapt Through Time is not in that world. It's a very cute time travel anime movie.
You're saying it didn't break box office, like?
No, it did pretty well in box office actually, but it wasn't the most selling anime movie of all time. Better than things like Spirited Away and Your Name. That said, I really appreciate that it is a cute little time travel movie that isn't like big consequences. Your world is going to be shattered. Everything's ruined and destroyed. Like, it's a time travel movie that just lets itself have fun with itself. And it's more about the springtime of someone's life, which is a very Japanese thing that we'll get into. It's like, if there's romance, there's no romance thing, whatever. But like ultimately, it tackles the one problem that like a ton of Japanese people face, which is that this time that you live in, this time that you're in love with, these like springtime of life in high school, it can't be forever. Time always moves forward, and I think
what they say in the movie, "Time waits for no one." Is that the quote they use?
That's also a quote from like a character in like an anime game that I play, and it's like just when you say that time waits for no one, I just think of the animation they do when they do that. But
hey, it is true for them at the very least.
I mean, we'll get into it more, but it's like this. It's a very the movie's very simple. It's a classic Japanese high school setting. It's the first like 10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
If you've watched this genre before, nostalgia. Well done, nostalgia, but nostalgia. I'm gonna plug this video again. If you haven't watched it, please do. Again, like. This is not a groundbreaking video. It is not incredibly riveting research that is unprecedented, but it's incredibly concise. It's by Tuxedo Task, and it's about why Japan is all about in high school. Link will be in the description, and on the video will be on screen now, whatever. And it's really just slice of life through and through. Like there's sci-fi in it, like obviously,
like time travel.
Obviously, it's time travel, it's sci-fi, but it is slice of life through and through. It's about characters doing human things with human problems, and enjoying the small parts of life.
And I'll from the get-go mention that like I enjoy their approach to time travel. Like it's not cliche. Well, I guess it wouldn't be cliche back then when it came out anyways, but like it's not cliche time travel by today's standards for us because we've been dealing with that type of shit for the last decade and a half now. But it's really well done. You don't have the classic tropes of butterfly effect sort of things, especially
Yeah.
in scale. Like you do see like some stuff affecting others here and there, but it's not like, oh, you like sneezed at the wrong place and now the world is exploding kind of level, you know. And it's much subtle.
That's a very Western perspective
Yeah.
on time travel, which low key a part of me um could go on a deep dive about how that is actually related to the idea of undoing history related to white
Well,
privilege,
yeah,
and like
for
it's a
sure.
long thing of like, we should be grateful for the spot, like the whole rabbit hole I can go at. But one thing I want to really praise about this movie is that the art is so nice to look at. It is very pretty art.
Yeah.
But it's not complicated art. It's
No.
really not complicated.
But it's so nice.
It's very precise and well done and honest. I think the easiest way to describe a girl who left through time is it's a very honest movie, and it's not perfect, but there's so many honest things about. It's really about a girl in her life who doesn't
Yeah.
know what she wants, figuring it out through
Yeah.
going through the time loops, and I think that is such a neat little way of doing it.
And then I do kind of want to mention, I don't know if it piqued your attention, but the food art
Yeah,
is really good as well.
I wish there was a bit more. Honestly, like,
Yeah.
I'm. We'll get to it in the seasonal section a little, but I love anime food. I love
Like,
anime
especially-
I love anime food.
Specifically, like all food looked good in the show, but especially when she eats that sandwich, bro.
Bro, it just. Oh no! I was watching it with my roommates, and my roommate saw the sandwich. She's like, "Yo!"
Exactly.
And I was like,
the
"That's
fucking-
that's a dog right there." I was like, "Damn!"
It's like the tomatoes, like the lettuce, like everything. Like that sandwich looked appetizing.
It has
like-
color. A lot of this
yeah.
movie has color, and it really likes to maintain that fact that life is colorful. I mean, it's matches the springtime of your life type thing, and uses a lot of wide shots, uses a
Yeah.
lot of long takes. And I was like, to actually talk a little bit about some of the time travel stuff in terms of from anime production standpoint. I didn't talk about this in summertime, but a very important thing in anime and animation in general is repetition. Being able to reuse an animation, which does not mean it has to be the same like scene per se, or even like the quote unquote same action, but being able to use certain animations over and over again with having narrative purpose as to why, and then reinforcing things in that narrative because of that is incredibly valuable, which is why time travel and animation kind of have this harmony together and can have a lot of successes, because you can put a ton into one shot and know you're going to use it again.
Yeah.
And like be able to do something out of it, and it have emotional impact and not feel like, oh, they're using this shot again because they spent all their money on it. Low-key see like stuff like Monster of the Week type stuff that like Noragami did this, for example, where they do that one sequence over and over again, and it's a Monster of the Week thing that is prevalent, but in a time travel anime, this is accepted, and it's actually the thing that you should be doing.
and it adds, like
and it adds, and I think that's why like kind of has a nice, beautiful marriage to it, as why these two genres work together, or medium and genre work together with each other.
because they need budget savings.
Yeah, I mean, but I think budget saving in your production needs to be a conscious decision. It should not
Well,
be
yeah,
a
of
sacrifice that happens when you make other decisions. It needs to be, we are going to save money here as a choice.
Yeah,
I think that is something that makes you a better creator and like producer in that regard. Like you need to consciously have this happen because you need to be aware that production is going to have expenses elsewhere.
And then another thing that I've enjoyed, which I mentioned this to you the other day as well, is like something they didn't do the classic trope again, where there's this love triangle between friends. And it's just disturbing through and through because there's this unneeded, required tension between the progression of the story. At least at this point, I've seen it so much that I really, really did not want this to turn out like that, which it didn't. There isn't a love triangle. It's actually really nice and refreshing. There is obviously since it's technically a romance anime as well. There is a romance, and it's nice. It's just not love triangle. And I did kind of like where they went with the relationship between the two characters.
Mm-hmm.
It's is it the most well executed? Most definitely not, unfortunately. Though I still enjoyed the dynamic they tried to build between the two. I mean, somewhat, success. Somewhat is a really big somewhat, but um, it still felt like a fresh breath. Like it didn't feel too forced nor lighthearted. It was like a in between, like good enough in between um link for me or relationship for me.
I just wanted to say I do like love triangles when they're done well, but most of them are kind of botched. But
Yeah.
I'm a big love triangle fan. I'm a big romance anime watcher. I fucking love romance.
I knew you were gonna
fucking
say that.
love romance anime when done well. Shout out to Chihaya Furu. And I will say a lot of times when I watch a love triangle show, what will happen is the character that usually the character I like the most is the one that gets rejected. And I'm just like, but I'm like, no, you need to do better. You're better than them. I think you're legitimately better than them. I mean, that doesn't happen in this movie at all. But I'm like, shout outs to two characters. I'm gonna shout out Hino Chono from Blue Box, and especially huge shout outs to Mashima Taichi from Chihaya Furu. But
Okay.
beyond that, like again, like it's a very lower stakes romance. It's more slice of life than romance show.
It is.
And it really takes its time to breathe in the slice of life. Arguably a bit too much. I would say arguably too much in the sake of what its goals are later. It takes it a bit too slow. It needed to kind of, in my opinion, introduce things
Yeah.
a bit earlier. But I have so much fun. Like this movie is legitimately funny. I legitimately laughed out loud a couple of times. It's a very happy movie, and it's like not happy in a dumb happy way, but it's kind of like discovering the novelty of life, and kind of, I'm gonna like, do some fun crazy thing, and like, I'm gonna see how my friends react, and like all these different crazy little small ways of exploring the uniqueness of life based on our choices. I think that is such a fun way to go about it without having to worry about the end of the world or changing everything. Like I think not that there isn't consequences in this movie, which I'll get to later, but to me, I think what I love about Hosoda's directing is it feels very liberating. I watched Wolf Children as well. It's the only other movie of his that I've seen. And while I will say that Wolf Children is not perfect as well, there's a certain liberation in the stories he tells and how he tells them. It's very freeing to experience. He lets a big thing is he lets his shots fucking breathe, which if you don't know, like if you want to look at a really sad statistic in like, especially in American film, average shot length is like 4 seconds, which is like really depressing. Like there were shots where it was legitimately like almost a minute long, or like even like, I think there's probably a shot in this movie.
I didn't know that it was that short in film.
Oh, I can, we'll have a conversation about this at some point. It's really depressing. I studied it quite a bit in school.
Yeah.
And it's really depressing. It's called, it's like a hypercontinuity is a,
Well, I hold the boom, not the camera. So,
but it's like slow. What we call a shorter take. Thank God. But it's like, but yeah, it's a
like, thank God the average is
well.
not
Okay,
like
to be fair, it's not always
50 seconds.
It's not even a shorter take all the time. It is a shorter shot length of that shot.
Like
so
they might be
they just
editing
cut it
it,
differently.
cutting it.
But regardless, for me, it's like letting your shots breathe is something I love. Like, because in animation, sometimes they feel a need to change the perspective and do all these work. I'm like, no, if you have good art, don't even need perfect animation. You can let it breathe. And I think that's something that's so refreshing about this show is that, like, I will say, again, this is another movie and, like, piece of media of, like, anime that you need to distinguish art and animation. Because the art's great. The animation, we're a little shaky. We spent a lot of it on throwing the baseballs. A lot of our time went into throwing baseballs.
That is true.
It's true. It's baseball and bike riding, and then some of the running. The running is a bit sketchy here and there.
No.
But like, I think that the fact that this movie is so fun but still has a deeper meaning, even if it's not the deepest meaning, I think again it's because it's not setting the highest goal. It's setting a decently high. No, okay. It's setting a not low goal. but it's not like, it's still fun. Like,
Yeah.
I think I'm not someone who enjoys like mindless fun. Like I would describe it as like almost like eating candy type fun, but I do want I do like my sweet treats on occasions, and I think this was a great sweet treat to have in comparison to what we were going to watch, which was Girls Last Tour.
No, yeah, this was much like the way they wrapped up the story, the ending. It was like still a really satisfying thing. The only like relatively early on issue that I had that it fixed itself. The further I watched is the pacing. Like I'd say overall pacing is actually good, and the what do you call it, like intentionally made pacing changes are really well done. But the first quarter of it, or like the first 1/3 of the movie, it did feel like a bit too slow.
It drags a little. I won't lie.
It drags at the beginning.
Yeah, it does.
But then when they started shifting it up, and like I almost feel like they themselves realized it in some matter or what. But like when that happened, and then they played with it too, I was like, okay, actually right now this is pretty pleasant. So I was happy in that regards. Everything else, animation wise, I totally agree. Art wise, I totally agree. That's why I mentioned that fucking sandwich. It piques your interest. Whenever they showed their house from a wide take, I was like, dang, like that. I'd live there. Like I'd live in that house.
It's like, look what they took from us. It's like, man, this is what this is what animation was about. Was living in a nice house, going to your school.
Like even their like bedrooms, like you see Makoto's or Konno's like own corner with like the library separating two siblings, and then you see the younger siblings part of the room from the corner with details.
It's
and
2000s
like,
as hell. It's 2000s as hell.
Yeah,
and I will say my biggest gripe of the movie, like legitimately, like if you ask me what's the biggest thing I dislike about this movie, on a somewhat non-serious note, as someone who is a purveyor of the classics and an enjoyer of genre conventions that should be respected, and like praying homage to the true greats, is when she's like first getting out and like doing the opening sequence, and I think it's very well done. She runs out of the house without a piece of toast in her mouth, and I think as a show, I mean as a piece of anime, to do that to a young schoolgirl, I think is downright disrespectful. It's disrespectful to all the work we've put into this industry.
No toast in mouth.
It's just disrespect. The toast was there. It was on the table. You could see it in a shot. It's upsetting it was just upsetting.
Well, if you're throwing that out there, I'm throwing the fact that we did not get a truck-kun, but instead we had a train-kun, which like you could argue it's similar enough, but no. Truck-kun's influence on youth being massacred and killed in anime is substantially
You would think
higher.
it's an epidemic.
Exactly.
You would think it's happening everywhere.
It's the worst disease Japan ever experienced. So they should have done that too in that regard.
Yeah, I will say I do love her leaping as the transition too. I think it's so fun. Again, so fun. But
the leap is really good.
For me, the one thing that I mean, we're praising the production and all these things. I will say one of the weaker things, which someone might not have the average person might not want to critique because it's a bit picky. The OST is a bit weaker in this. You compare it to an anime movie, and a lot of anime movies, again, the bar is held really high because of Ghibli and because of Makoto Shinkai does all of his stuff with Radwimps, or basically all of his stuff nowadays with Radwimps, who is a band that's very well known in Japan, and also he's friends with the main writer, and so they have an incredibly intimate relationship with having great lyrics and great songs that fit the movie exactly. And this movie's OST is passable and occasionally not present. Not like the music's obviously there, but it's not in the scene and affecting you as it should be. In my opinion,
it's not like it's just there. It is a perfect way to. It's like it's not, because a lot of musics especially on this run we had with Summertime Rendering and then Psychopaths. It's like it adds.
Yes.
And this doesn't add anything. It exists and it's like a placeholder in a sense, like kind of like a sometimes you need like a background noise when you're doing work and kind of stuff. It is there, but it's not something you go like, oh wow, like it served the scene so well. It helped me like get in that moment really well. Like it's nothing like that.
But it's crazy we're saying that out of the 3 things we watched about the movie.
Yeah.
The thing that you have the most time on to make a soundtrack for. That's why it's even more critical about it, is because a soundtrack for a movie, you have the ability, you have the time, you have so much, and
then the form of the art too. Like you could argue music is much important for movie form when compared to show format. So again, it's wild that it's the weakest out of the 3.
Yeah, it's I think that's for me the part of it that was the most disappointing. Just because with such a well developed vibe from the art to the directing and all these things, to feel like the OST is the part that's lacking in anime movies is a rare thing to say, but happens more than I experience. But I just watch a ton of movies that are very, very good soundtracks because I really I care about the soundtracks, especially in movies.
But comedy things, it did the jokes and stuff, the situations they find themselves in, like they all like made me chuckle, and like I was like thoroughly enjoying the interactions they had.
It was very fun. It's not only fun; it's funny. It's charming. I even though Makoto as a character is not. I'll say we'll probably get into spoilers here. Even though Makoto is not the most interesting character, and I would say her struggle is a bit
cliche.
It's a bit cliche, and it's like it's a bit like romance, no-mance. I don't know if I want to do this. A bit like high school girl lost in her ways.
Yeah, and I'm not the most enjoyer when it comes to the female character rejecting a confession and then being like, actually, I don't like. It's not even actually. It's like she rejects Chiaki. And then Chiaki kind of continues on in a sense in her head because it's time looping. But and then she gets pissed. She's like, "Why? I thought she liked me," and I'm like, you didn't like that, like you didn't want that, so I mean that kind of pisses me off.
To be fair, my the whole thing is that it's what Makoto wants is for them to the most important line in the movie, without a single question. I thought it was going to be the 3 of us forever.
Yep.
And it's the whole, I want time to stand still like this. I don't want our relation, I don't want life to progress. I don't want our relationships to progress. I don't want any of that to happen. I just want us to do this and be this for the rest of our lives. And it's a heavily Japanese, and I cannot stress how heavily Japanese thought process because of what happens after high school for a lot of Japanese people. But it's just like a lot of what this movie is about is accepting that, and and it's accepting it in maybe slightly painful ways. Like for me, Chiaki's twist made sense. I think
it did.
I think I've talked to people who were like, I thought Chiaki's twist was forced or did not, but I was like, no. I think part of it for me was that Chiaki was someone else who was aware of what he was doing. He was like, because it's not perfect in terms of like I don't think he's like noticing the looping exactly, but I think he is aware that his time there is not forever. Like you can tell that his character is kind of aware that he would not. That's why he's on a timer with Makoto. That's why he's willing to do things and whatnot, because he wants to enjoy his time there. And I think understanding what he wants to get out of that time is very important. Like I think Chiaki is romance and all that kind of stuff is a bit dirty and not perfect. And I think Kosuke as a character is kind of gets pushed aside in a weird way. And I think Makoto is hesitant. But I think ultimately the beauty in A Girl Who Leapt Through Time is the fact that it's about coming to terms with something that is very, despite being a very bright movie that is very sad, which is that, no, you cannot be a kid forever. You cannot have your perfect friendships forever.
Yeah.
Even if you were to be with these people forever, they will change whether they like it or not. And I think that is really at the core what makes the movie itself. You know, it's
It,
very again,
it
it's very
gives
honest.
it gives its um identity,
Yes.
like, and it does not, like, it's not trying to play it as something
No,
different.
it doesn't waver in its
It
identity.
is what it is, yeah. And I really enjoyed that too. I also did, in regards to Chiaki, just to add it. I kind of like the detail where, like, he is the one that's like searching for that picture in the museum. Like, it's such a, they're not wasting time on that matter. It's just like you see this shadow here and there throughout the anime, just in front of the in front of a painting, and it linking him and kind of helping everything else make sense is like a nice touch. It's not necessarily maybe required, but it's certainly a nice touch.
For me, I think one of the weakest points about, because it sounds like we really do love this movie, but I think one thing to say is that this movie, as I mentioned, holds itself to a lower bar than other movies. It's not
Yeah.
trying to reach incredibly high, and so that's why it's a lot easier to praise it because its bar was a bit lower.
Yeah.
That said, it still makes mistakes like any piece of art with that, and I think one of the things that for me is that I think, it kind of does the cliche, like, when it's like, Chiaki's gone, they do the bit of the montage of, like,
Oh,
all
yeah.
the past, and it's like, man, I really wish you implemented this in the story, but you were so focused on doing the time travel loop thing that it's like, and it's also a hard budget saving thing because it's a montage with images and it's not
Yeah.
fucking animation. So it's like, I felt that
In that, yeah.
I felt that they could have done Chiaki's stuff a bit earlier. There's hints of it and all that kind of stuff, but I wish that, as we were having a bit too much fun at the start for what it seems like it wanted to do, and then I think the ending of the movie, with Chiaki's line being like, "I will see you in the future." I've thought about it for at least a couple days now, and I don't think it's very impactful. I think it's pretty weak, all things considered, and I don't.
It's weekend. Like, the moment he said that, I was like, wait, if in your timeline certain things do not exist, because we know for a fact that they don't since you told us, how the fuck is this girl living till then, was like one of my first questions that, like, I was like, genuinely, I'll tell this. Genuinely, when he said that line, I thought he deliberately chose, like, to make, like, he deliberately chose, Kono, like, to Kono suffer, like, because there's no way she's lived. You know what I mean?
For me, the thing that didn't make sense is that the way they direct that scene is like really whatever, because it's like, he's coming back because they just hold on a shot of her crying, and I'm just like, you don't have the balls to show a Carol crying this long.
Yeah.
You, like, not for a movie this time, you don't have the balls to do it. I know you don't. Like, you're not willing to do that. You're going to have him come back. So I think part of the execution and the directing was a bit poor, and I think again, I will you haven't watched Your Name, right? It's a Makoto Shinkai. I feel like you don't watch a lot of anime movies in general.
Is it like Kimi no Koe?
Yeah.
Was it that one?
Kimi no Koi? Well, we'll watch it at some point for the show. Most likely, it's one of my favorite. Even though it's an incredibly popular movie, I think it's. I think Your Name is the pinnacle of an example of an artist having a goal they've chased for so long and then actually achieving their goal nearly perfectly.
Okay.
I think it's incredible that someone was able to do that legitimately within their lifetime. I think that so many artists chase it, and I think he was able to do it within such few attempts. When I compare that to the ending of Your Name, which is incredibly unfair because the ending of Your Name is heart-wrenching, but beautiful, but incredibly beautiful. It feels like it had this goal of, like, again, like I said, the whole most important thing of the three of us forever. It feels like that is not married with the ending as well as it should be.
It is not.
I feel like it's more about
Well,
it
I
delves a
guess.
little more romancy
Yeah.
than the three of us forever, right? It's like, again,
It does more torture because it's purely him making Kono suffer for the rest of her life.
I just for me, I really wish that I wish that, first of all, I mean, Kosuke should have been in the movie more, quite frankly.
That's another thing. Like, towards the end, we kind of get relatively enough in terms of Chiaki's character, but, like, throughout the movie, we really don't get that much material in terms of knowing these three friends, you know?
Yeah, the first act of the movie is closer to like 50 minutes and then it's wanted to probably be 30 minutes. Like, you want to do 30,
Yeah.
30, like, maybe
I
like
feel like
20,
we know
10.
about Kazuko more, like the witch aunt.
Yeah.
Like we know more about her than we know about Kosuke. Like
Yeah,
literally.
I mean, the thing you know about Kosuke is if you are for some reason if you're unsure whether Kosuke is attractive, he is the son of a doctor, and he's going to be a doctor, and a girl admits that that she has a crush on him. He's
And-
attractive,
And he's an ideal human being.
yeah. So it's like that's really all you really know about him for the longest time is that's it, and that he's someone who's like
He
I'm
helps
gonna be,
elders, I guess.
I don't
We
know,
know
he's someone who's good in his grades. And I think that, again,
Yeah.
I think the movie is having too much fun that it forgets that it needs to end the first act, and move on to the second act, or have developed more things in the first act. But again, do I hate that the movie was having fun? No, I think that again it should have maybe set its goals to be differently, or like embedded a bit more here and there in the first act of The Three of Us Forever. I think they play too much fucking baseball, quite frankly. But I'm sure I'm sure it's a hard bias of the writer of the novel was they probably played a ton of baseball in their life, and they for themselves see a ton of value in it. And for me, it's just not my thing. And also, I think it's just a bit overplayed. But
Not enough catchpole and too much baseball.
yeah, I don't know. It just didn't feel like it fit. And so I don't know.
Yeah.
For me, the biggest thing is I think this movie's ability to have fun and its ability to meet the bar, even though it being low, was satisfying enough. Do I think it's incredible? No, not really. Would I rate it incredibly highly? I don't really think so. But I think it's a great watch. It's a great watch.
It is. As far as anime movies go, that is not Ghibli. Because everyone just watches any Ghibli anyway. This would be one movie one of the movies that I'd recommend to someone.
I mean,
to
have
watch.
you watched Satoshi Kon as well? Have you watched Perfect Blue and all that stuff?
I watched Perfect Blue. I haven't watched, I think, any other works from him.
But yeah, it's like, I mean, for me, it's like Satoshi Kon and Makoto Shinkai. You talk about those guys in anime movies, and it's like, ooh, they're in a different league. I mean, maybe there's a couple I'm missing off the top of my head. I think Hosoda is like a tier below them.
And Satoshi Kon passing away mid-project is kind of sad too.
Oh,
but,
I legitimately believe he is one of the greatest minds that the world has lost. I think I legitimately believe we did not see his peak.
no.
I think that is the
agree with
craziest thing to say, considering how good he was. I think we did not see his peak.
And I feel like he was going to improve what he did with the project ongoing, like the ongoing one, but we couldn't.
It is insane. But yeah,
But yeah, everything aside, this is a movie I'd recommend to someone that is not looking for like the classic, like 100% good ones.
for me, it's like getting someone to step out of their realm a bit more. This is an okay stepping stone. If this person hasn't seen a ton of slice of life, it's an okay stepping stone. I think it's an average step for someone who's like not familiar with anime and kind of wants to stick in the quote unquote respectable anime realm before jumping into something that is a bit more, classically anime or a bit,
box office breaking,
like it's just like I think with The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, they do play certain things safe enough that someone who's unfamiliar with anime can still stick through it with it.
And I feel like it would still be like a fresh breath in terms of how they handle the generic concepts they handle.
Yeah, I think I think one thing that it's great is it's a good reset point for people's perspective on anime and like seeing certain things through a Japanese lens, and I think that's very valuable because again I watched it with my roommates and he was like, why did she not like get punished for her consequences of time traveling? And I'm like, bro, that's it's a very Western idea that time travelers should be punished, which again I could go down a long rant about, but you don't have to punish your time travelers. It's not a sin to time travel in your narrative unless you choose it to be, unless you make it function that way. But I really did enjoy it. Quite frankly, like I thought this movie, I had a friend who wasn't my friend Sunday was not the most positive about it, and I wouldn't be the most positive about it myself, but I would say it is more fun than I think he led on to be. And I watched Wolf Children, and I thought Wolf Children was okay. I think both Wolf Children and this movie kind of messed up their endings a little, and I think that quite makes me question Hosoda if I watch some of his other works. But overall, I had fun, and I think I appreciate that the shared watch as much as pretty fun,
No, yeah, I totally. Even though it was a last minute shared watch selection, it was a fun one. I enjoyed it. It's a movie that I watched and I was like, I actually feel that I watched a good movie. So that's
we'll,
that.
we'll get you on some other good movies. We'll do it. We're definitely going to talk about Makoto Shinkai soon. I don't know when. We have a ton of other shows to go through, but yeah. To go on to our manga manhwa session. Yeah, as you could tell with us switching our shared watch, which is incredibly unideal.
Yeah.
We didn't get. At least I didn't get a ton of Omniscient readers done. I'm on not episode chapter 60 at this point, so I've made like 10 chapters of progress. It's real sad.
Yeah.
Again, I don't have any strong opinions. I don't really want to talk about it too much because I've been doing other things with my free time, which we'll talk about. And you'll be like, oh, was it seasonal anime? To get into the seasonal anime section. We'll talk about ORV next week because I don't think we have another manga. So we'll probably talk about ORV, and I'll probably at least get to chapter 100 by that point. But
Yeah, next month.
yeah. To talk about our seasonals, it's like, oh, end of summer seasonal 2025, right? That's what we did.
Which, on my end, I finished Water Magician. It was good. I think I mentioned this in previous.
Yeah. It's like we have made I quite frankly have made zero progress on seasonals.
Yeah, like because I'm the biggest difference between the last episode and this, in terms of Water Magician, is I've watched the last episode because when I talked about Water Magician last episode of our podcast, it had one episode remaining before season final. So I watched that single episode. Ended up good enough. Beautiful art. Not the best action sequences. I'm pretty sure that's gonna get better with more budget. Hella improvement in terms of design, character design, and all that stuff in comparison to manga. And general voice acting / sound design are good. I'd say it's worth a while in terms of this season's animes.
I think that this season of anime is too packed to recommend it, in my opinion. I mean, if you wanted to watch an isekai, it's one thing. For me, it's like so I didn't catch up this season primarily due to as I mentioned at the end of, or literally at the start and the end of last episode, I talked about Trails in the Sky first chapter remake. As you can tell from this podcast, I'm a ginormous Trails fan. It is the series I talk about the most amongst my friends. I've played every game. I have probably consumed over 1,000 hours of Trails content, like not even playing, like consuming hours of content because I've watched my friends play through all of the games. I've talked about them about the games consistently. And Trails in the Sky first chapter remake came out with rave reviews. I will say I have been doing damage to my mental by reading people's opinions about it who have only played first chapter remake and saying, even I do damage to myself by seeing them praise it because they go, oh, it's incredible. And I'm like, first chapter has nothing of Trails in it. Like it does. Like, it's the first game of the series, but like it is like 40 hours of a like 600-hour series, and it's most of that is just building the world. And I'm like, listen, there's honest and good things about first chapter, and I love first chapter for what it is. But I was like, bro, please do not talk about like Trails yet. Trails does not start until second chapter. Like it really doesn't start until second chapter. And that said, another thing to say about first chapter remake specifically is fuck Gung Ho. Gung Ho as a publisher or as a localizer, you're fucking terrible. I don't know what to say other than it's just like I'm glad they fixed some of their mistakes. Basically some of the mistakes they made was they did not do regional based pricing, which regional based pricing is a big thing for games because like you might be like, oh, shouldn't it be the same in all regions? Some regions have lower cost of livings, make less money, like all these things make the game less accessible. They've removed the game from the Russian Steam store. I don't believe it has been restored yet. I could be wrong. I might check at the time. Did Falcom choose to remove it? No, it was Gung Ho. Gung Ho made the decision on their own volition, and the worst thing is that it released and then it unreleased, which is horrible. They have done a ton of mispronunciations, a ton of the classic mispronunciations, such as the goddess in Trails. Well, they didn't do this one. They did. There's a town called Hamel. They pronounce it Hamel. There's a character called Luve. They pronounce him Loe. They do a character that they just cleared their pronunciation to be Jin in the most recent anime, or not most recent game. They pronounce Zin. They've done a ton of these mistakes, ton of pronunciation mistakes. In the early marketing, they called Divine Blades Sword Saints because that's how it would translate when you translate it through a machine. So it's been super clear that Gung Ho, they're learning from their mistakes, but I will also say there's been over 20 years of Trails, and there's plenty of people that you could hire as localizers who are familiar with the franchise, and they simply have refused to work with those people. And with that, am annoyed that Gung Ho is choosing to do what they do with the project. I think that they are a step below even NISA, who is like, NISA of America, or NIS of America, who I think was already not as good as Xseed, who was the original localizer. And I think a ton of Trails is hurt by having localizers who are not putting their A game forward, because Trails is, quite frankly, one of the hardest games to localize in the world because it has so much dialogue and so much text in it, and they get overwhelmed by it and choose to lack on it and choose to try to cut corners. And it is a game with a fan base that is incredibly passionate and will not let you do that. So I will say, First Chapter remake is good if you think that is what Trails is, and you are judging Trails by first chapter. Even for positive or negative, you're wrong, inherently incorrect. But also, fuck Gung Ho.
Okay.
And
For me, I want to try Trails. I haven't. We've talked about it with Jared a lot. He did convince me to, which honestly it didn't take too much because I am interested in that sort of game anyways. But I am planning on trying it. And actually, like I've been telling him, I was planning on starting Trails series before this remake. And he was the one that suggested I'd wait for the remake, so at least I'd play the graphically improved version of the first game.
The game, no, it's more the gameplay. It's really more the gameplay.
And the gameplay.
For me, Trails in the Skies original remake is very brutal for a beginner to start.
Yeah, but so that's why I'll, start playing it with the remake when the time comes.
I will say the difficulty to say things. First of all, the combat is much improved. Thank you for improving the combat, Falcom. But I will say the difficulty is very respectable at the start, then becomes way too easy near the end. I played on Nightmare. I play all my Trails games on Nightmare nowadays because I played Trails games for over almost nearly a decade now, and I am very experienced with them. Also, shout out to Zoelius. If you don't use Zoelius Guide, you're not playing a Trails game. For me, if you try to play original FC and even if you're playing on normal and you don't have someone guiding you, you can easily get stuck just due to mistakes you can make or things you're not understanding and whatnot. And I will say that the main reason why is not the graphics, because the graphics of the original are very charming and the music is incredible and the chibi sprites and the character avatars are incredibly well done. It's primarily the gameplay that makes FC original incredibly hard to recommend to people, especially as an entry point, because really after FC, SC, and third chapter, once you get to 0, it at least becomes bearable. While I believe in the Sky is just a bit too harsh. I also play Pokemon Z-Day. Why? I don't know. I'm, as you can tell, a large Pokemon fan, whether I am aware that the franchise is not putting out their best. Would I say Pokemon Z-Day is good? Would I say it's bad? No. Was Arceus better? Probably. I think that Arceus had a clearer identity than Z-Day. Is Z-Day's combat terrible? Oh yeah, it's some dog shit. Some huge dog shit. But I think the story and characters are charming, and I think it's fun for what it is. And is it worth $60? Probably not. Could they be doing more with Pokemon? Of course. Is there IP protection stuff? Yes. But I'm having fun because I've been brainwashed since I was fucking 2. So is what it is.
Yeah, I love Pokemon games in general. I haven't been playing the few most recent ones, for sure. I think the last relatively recent Pokemon game I played was Eevee/Pikachu thing, which for me it was good enough. I don't have super high expectations from Pokemon games to begin with, so when they do them, as long as it fulfills my OG Game Boy Advanced Pokemon requirements, which is going around catching Pokemons and fighting in gyms, that much usually is enough to satisfy me.
I'm a big fan of Gen 6 and Gen 7. I'm a big glazer of those gens, especially Gen 7, and I think that Gen 8 and Gen 9 are such a fall off from that I'm kind of like...
No, I can't see that. I was like, for me, I don't necessarily have... I enjoy it because I grew up with it, but I don't necessarily have really high expectations of it. And I just, when I want a good, chill gaming session experience, that's when I go on to games like OG Pokemons or stuff like that. So I will probably get to Pokemon ZA at some point. Not yet. Probably a while in the future, to be honest. But
Did you play Legends
we'll
Arceus?
see. No.
You should play that first. It's a much
Yeah,
better
most
game.
definitely. Yeah, like these are again, since I haven't played the last few, like these are always like gonna be in order when I start going through them, and ZA is one of them. But I'll get to it when I get to it. Since I guess we're talking about games, for our seasonal update, I'm just kidding.
I mean, a lot of games came out.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
the reason why, honestly.
true. I don't necessarily I didn't have the time to go crazy on games either, but I did enjoy the release of Battlefield 6. It's been a minute since I played Battlefield in general, because I feel like the last game, which was 2042 or something like that, was, or at least for me, didn't pick my interest enough. And then the reviews and feedback we got from the player base was not the most pleasant sounding one, so I wasn't inclined enough to jump back into Battlefield with that game. But this one I feel like had a more positive response in general from the player base. I've been enjoying it. Do I have critiques towards it? Yes, I do. One critique that I would point out, which I feel like is much more insignificant and compared to other ones, especially for other people, is that you do not see how many revives you did as a medic on your scoreboard slash after match scoreboard or whatever. I am only I'm a only medic player, so that's important for me. If anyone who is responsible of those kind of updates hear this, please. But other than that, I've been diving into Borderlands 4 as a French fan, franchise fan, not a French fan.
Never a fan of the French.
Oh, like a fan of the franchise. The best way I could pull it off now is I've been playing it since Borderlands 1. I've played most games. I'd say to be honest, I haven't finished the prequels or Telltale editions, but as far as the main line, which is like 1, 2, 3, 4, and also even though it's a spin-off, Tiny Tina, I played all those. I'm about halfway through Borderlands 4 right now. Like I mentioned, I couldn't invest too much time into gaming this month. It's been far improved over Borderlands 3 is what I feel like. I feel like the storytelling is better. For Borderlands 3, I felt a lot of thing was lacking in terms of how the game conveyed the so-called Vault Hunter feeling, trope, whatever you call it, and then the villains were really, really, really weak.
That's sad after you think about Handsome Jack.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I feel like 4 is, at least as far as I've played, doing a better job. I'm not saying the best, a better job. And I like the guns. I like the designs. So far, any character that I've tried is pretty much enjoyable in terms of gameplay. And it's not, sorry if you don't agree with this take, but it's not turned into a fuckfest of jokes like Borderlands 3 did. Don't get me wrong. There's most certainly still jokes existing in there because it is Borderlands at the end of the day. But I feel like 3 just overdid it by a mile. For Borderlands 4, I don't think that's the case. We'll see. Again, I still got 50% of the game left. So that being said, those two are the two games I could invest very little time I had this month. So
my PC
that's
doesn't
about
run Borderlands 4, so I
Yeah,
couldn't
I'd say-
play it even if I wanted to.
I'd say an objective critique of Borderlands 4 is that everyone is, including myself, kind of disturbed by how high demanding the game is, which kind of translates into please do better optimization when you release these kind of games.
Just don't release your game until it's ready.
But that being said, if you have a high enough spec computer, it still runs good enough. That's a big enough.
I've never heard someone being like, "Oh, it runs perfect."
Yeah. But that being said, we've reached to the end of our episode 4. I'd say if you get interested in any of the shows we mentioned, try it and watch them. And if you ever feel inclined so, let us know in the comments. I'm talking to you 43 weavers from episode 2. Just type it in. Help us.
I will say for me, one thing is my opinion is that if you do watch this podcast, the ideal way is to listen to one episode you listen to episode by episode and pick one show that we're gonna watch next episode, and just watch that one, and then kind of watch the show and be like, okay, I'm interested in hearing what they say about this one, but then I'll listen to the others to kind of get a feel of how they might feel about it and see if that's something I want to watch later.
Like ideally, we've structurized it in a way that you would be watching up to date and kind of follow what we watch with us roughly.
Yeah, I think they are standalone, but I think you're incentivized to follow along. Because if we think about how much I talked about 86 this episode, I will say it's been 4 episodes, and as someone who has worked with a content creator before, he'd be mad for me not saying like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you smash that bell. I'll just say it because literally it's like his whole thing was like people literally forget, and like you should just say it because of that. And I'm like, true.
That is true. But for next episode's plans, we got
next episode's fucking fun, dude.
It is. So from you, we got
we're watching Licorice Recoil, and a beautiful anime original from A1 Studios.
Yep. From me, we got Trigun Stampede, which is the newest adaptation of Trigun series.
Mm-hmm.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's one of the very few animes that showed me 3D was not a fully lost cause.
No way.
I leave it at that.
Yeah.
And then for our shared watch, and hopefully we're going to be, well, actually I'm going to be, we're not 100% sure on your end, but watching this one at the cinema, Angel's Egg. I don't know a lot lot it.
All I know is it's by the person who did Ghost in the Shell, and I'm like, cool, I'll watch it.
Yeah, the only other thing I know is it screams 80s in terms of art and execution, but we'll see. And that's a movie, if you are curious. And we'll see how far Jared gets.
We'll see how far I get in ORV, and we'll also see. My goal is for next episode to be where I actually wrap up summer 2025. Oh, I will say one thing is the one show I am watching this season, because One Punch Man looks tragic. I don't care about My Hero, and To Your Eternity is something I didn't care about for a while. I am watching Campfire Cooking in Another World, or it's like something along. It's like Campfire Cooking in Another World by Absurd Skill. Some classic isekai title.
Oh, okay.
It's a very fun show. If you like food, it's a great food show. It's real fun. It makes me smile, which as someone who watches a lot of depressing media, I mean, next episode should be pretty fun, all things considered. But I'll do my best to wrap up things. Like I'm gonna for sure wrap up. Rascal Does Not Dream of Santa Claus. I think we will probably get to a point in Gachi where we can talk about it again. I think we're also probably, at least I know for a fact, I'm gonna really try to watch Lord of the Mysteries, because I know that was one I said I was gonna watch. And there's a couple others that I've said I was gonna watch and wrap up that I'll try to clean up. Summer 2025. But to say about fall 2025 is there's really not a ton this season that I'm interested in. I mean, when the top shows are One Punch Man, My Hero, and To Your Eternity, that it's kind of like we're waiting for Freyrin season 2. As a known Freyrin hater, I say that. But not that I dislike the show, but I think it's overhyped. But this season's a bit dead, all things considered. I even looked at the real niche shows. They're not getting great reviews, and I just, quite frankly, I could use a break from large seasonal seasons after a seasonal where I watched like about 7 anime.
Yeah, for me, I will try to catch up with Gachakuta as well. Since you mentioned,
because Gachakuta is still ongoing. Gachakuta is like it's a 24 episode from summer to fall.
This is I'm talking about like currently going on seasonals as well. It's like I'll try to catch up with Gachakuta. Since you said camping and the word camping, one camping show I've been watching is Futari Solo Camp or Solo Camping for Two, which probably not a lot of people enjoy it. I, as a solo camper, enjoy it a lot. I feel like it's kind of wholesome, and it kind of gives me that like calmness.
At some point, when we'd never watch it for the show because it has no substance. But Laid Back Camp is the true show that made me feel serenity in anime. It's not like an amazing show, but it's like God, does it make you feel good? And it raised Japanese tourism to heights we never knew of.
That's nice. So I'll this won't do that, obviously, but I'll finish this and enjoy it. Other than that, I'll most definitely try to wrap up from summer season. Rascal Does Not Dreams, the newest season, because I haven't even started. I do want to watch it. I feel like it's good and worth watching. And I think that's for seasonal stuff. Since I've finished Water Magician, that is all I have. Maybe what's it called? The
Lord of Mysteries.
Lord of Mysteries. I'm curious, but more so that
Summer Hikari died.
That one, yeah. Summer Hikari died. I'm curious. I want to start and finish that, and then also the isekai anime.
Campfire Cooking?
No, it's what is it called? Like almost like Jobless Reincarnation, but not.
I know which one you're talking about.
Like with the main character, brown eyes. No, blue eyes, brown hair. Well, what is it called? Help me out here.
I don't know. Give me a sec.
Let's see.
Anyways, it'll be on screen now. I'll say that much. It'll be on screen now. But
yeah, that is true. We can do that.
We can do it in post.
You can do that.
Yeah, I can
perfect.
do that. But anyways, that'll be episode 4. We'll see you on the next one, everyone.
Yeah, try to catch up, people, and do some comments. We need help. Have a good one.
All right, later.